Review, as I think Divine Design...
All right, everybody, and welcome back to NTEL League of Legends. This is Katie sitting on the casting desk today with Bledexa, and we've got some great games to walk us through today. We've got a tiebreaker game here between Job Seekers Alliance and none other than Youngbloods, who at one point in the season were actually holding first place. So this is going to be them fighting it out to make their way into the knockout bracket. But how are things doing, Bledexa, for you?
I'm doing great, guys. I'm really excited to get into these tiebreaker matches. These are probably going to be some of the closest games of the season. Obviously, you'd expect that if they're all tied for that third place position, but not only are they going to be close games, it's going to mean a lot for these teams. Obviously, one of these teams in the tiebreaker scenario is not going to make that playoffs position, and it's going to be out of the money.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be really, really big. Like a big game, a lot on the line. So we're going to see how that one goes. Obviously, the side of Youngbloods have had to kind of work through the struggles of having a bit of a one trick as a mid laner. In the form of Dunk Knight 721, getting Zoe banned every single match. I know your team even banning Dark Knight Zoe out from underneath his feet, and yet this team has still, despite that, managed to solidify themselves a contention here for the top four. So definitely does just speak for, you know, their strength as a player. Not just a one trick on that mid lane, has definitely been one of the better mid laners in the tournament regardless. But going up against Chris Strider, who is also fairly well known for being quite decent on the mid lane, but as well as Dark Knight, usually restricted to certain champion picks like the Diana, like the Renekton. So going to be interesting to see what happens when both of these teams clash, exactly which mid champs they take off the table and which ones they leave on. I definitely am excited to see this matchup.
Yeah, so Youngbloods had a brilliant start to the season. They came out with their wild picks. Obviously, it's crazy stuff like the Zoe being taken away quite often, but they started to stumble towards the end of the season, and Job Seekers is quite the opposite. They're really ramping up, and they've found their stride here. They had not many answers early on in the season when they had those champions taken away, but Job Seekers have really brought out some more power picks that have really solidified themselves into this third place position here, and they're probably the strongest team coming into playoffs, surprisingly, just because of the record they hold versus all the teams. They've won all their recent matches. Basically, I think they're on a 4 or 5 winning streak, which is pretty insane, and that's going to do a lot for their morale coming into this. But the bans coming out, the Yuumi ban, Yuumi just got a pretty decent buff to her passive and made her laning pretty absurd. So I can see why that champion's being taken away. Obviously, if you don't know how to deal with the Yuumi, it is absolute nightmares if that champion makes it out of laning phase. But no surprise on the Youngbloods ban there either. Like we talked about.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting here is we actually have Django in the support role with Fast Runner up top, which is not what we've typically seen. Django is known as a top player, but they have stuck Fast Runner up here instead with Gator in the ADC role filling in, who obviously is a Platinum ADC main. So this is a bit of a shaken up Youngbloods comp compared to what we've seen for most of the season, whereas you know, it's sort of in the same line as well for Job Seekers Alliance. Nooblist also making his debut this season as a top lane player, had some great performances on the Cho'Gath, things like that, of that nature up in the top lane, but also going in the support role here. So I'm curious to see exactly how these games turn out.
Yeah, it's very hard to predict because the traditional roles we have seen aren't being played this game. Last time we saw each other play, Job Seekers were playing their traditional lineup, but Youngbloods had this role swap going on. They had Fast Runner into the jungle, they had Nictu into the mid lane, they had Django in the support, and it just went horribly for them. There's no sugarcoating what happened to them that game. Job Seekers absolutely dismantled them. But right now they've returned a lot of their players to their original positions, Django being the only real role swap with Fast Runner there. And I can only imagine, you know, they realized things weren't going well for them towards the end of the season, so they're trying to make some last minute changes to just have a shot in this playoffs and really throw a curveball to their opponents. But speaking of throwing stuff, that Nordlist is going to be throwing hooks left, right, and center, and looks like Brand is going to be the response, which is quite brave if that is a Brand support. But I believe if we've the past anything to go off,
Dark Knight is a fan of the Brand mid lane, so I wouldn't be surprised if that goes there. It's a very, very good champion mainly in these lower bracket games where, you know, players might not be able to spread out as well against the Brand Ultimate. You can get some crazy damage down, but Ashe getting locked in against Nautilus, so that's going to be a very scary matchup. Obviously, Ashe, not the most mobile of 80 carries, fairly slow. Nautilus is going to have a pretty easy time walking up, smacking the R button on her, but not sure if Ezreal is exactly the type of 80 carry that you want to be pairing with something like the Nautilus here.
Yeah, I think that's just comfort for Jobsies. They realize, but they don't actually go through it. The Caitlyn being taken away.
Yeah, so Caitlyn Ashe is a bit of a skill matchup. This is very common when Ashe was incredibly meta and Caitlyn was less so meta at Worlds last year, I believe. They would still pick the Caitlyn into the Ashe matchup just because her range is able to equalize a little bit of the pressure that Ashe has with her volley spam. But Fizz going to get locked in here for Chris Strider in the mid lane. That's really huge, actually. I don't think I've seen this out of him yet.
We have seen it a couple times. He has busted out here. That it seems to be one of his more comfortable picks once he has lost his favorable champions. Obviously, Renekton was still on the board here, but if anyone keeping up with the patch notes know, that champion's basically as good as dead. They took away half a second on his empowered W there. He used to stun for 1.5 seconds.
My god, I think this is the first time I've seen Dark Knight in 2 years of seeing this man play in the Northern Territory competitive scene. Have I seen him actually get his Zoe?
Yeah, and I was gonna say like, I didn't see it banned, but as soon as I saw that brand pick, I was like, I'm really thrown off because I thought it was just gonna be Zoe straight up. So when I saw Brand, I was like, that's an interesting pick, but it looks like it actually is going to be Brand going towards that support position there with the Ashe and Zoe being picked up to Dark Knight.
Brand jungle, dude. Brand jungle.
Brand jungle too. It was sort of a thing here and there, but I don't know, just the current meta jungle is just absolutely good Brand. Nightmare over time. Like, I don't see how Brand deals with champions like Lee Sin in the meta, but Sergeant Crone hasn't really shown that. He's shown that he's very proficient on the Rex side, but that's taken away. But he's shown he's good on stuff on the Lilia, but that doesn't really punish a Brand super hard, so it is still on the board, but now they've taken the Lilia away and Sergeant Crone's running out of options for his jungle pill.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see exactly where he decides to go.
Yeah, Dark Knight Zoe into the Chris Strider's Fizz. I do think that Zoe does win this matchup early on. Obviously, Fizz has a lot of counterplay around that bubble, but just the early game prowess, Zoe can just weave in those autos for free. Use that Lich Bane passive just over and over, really punishing that Fizz in the early game. And if you ever try all in that Zoe early, she just uses your summoners against you. It's just very hard to solo kill this champion. And once you get later on, she just keeps that range advantage. It's very hard to get on top of. So a good Zoe player like Dark Knight, I imagine, is going to make it a nightmare for Chris Strider, but still winnable by all means. So I'm wondering if he's been preparing for this matchup, because they did let the Zoe through on purpose.
Zach gonna get locked in here though, so that does show their jungle pick more than likely. Definitely very, very good. Does give them backline access to this Caitlyn, which is always something that is gonna be good. As well as that, obviously a champion that can follow up off of Ashe arrows very, very well. A little bit of counter synergy though. Obviously, Zac ultimate pushes everyone apart, and you have a Brand who wants everyone to be close together. So, little bit of a non-bow there, but we'll see how much that comes to impact them in team fights. Hecarim is going to be the lock-in for Sergeant Crone though.
Yeah, it looks like he's going with that Hecarim and possibly even the Yorick in the top lane. We know Xanox he's been in the scene a long time. He loves his Yorick top lane, and I don't think we've actually been able to see it this season, being the sub for Jobsy, because he's not always slotted into that top lane position. But this series they have gotten him in the top lane. Looks like they're going to be picking him that Yorick, his main champion, his favorite champion. We'll see what he's able to do with it, but of course, Fast Runner right now having the counter pick and prep something for this, but looks like it's just going to be the stock standard Ornn, just going for a tank matchup into the Yorick, just give the team the scaling they need. But you look at Youngblood's side, that is a very scary amount of magic damage to be drafting, and you know, it really does put a lot of the burden on that Ashe for the consistent damage for this team coming out.
Yeah, certainly does. Ornn, I'm imagining they're going to swap Fast Runner and Django. I doubt this is going to be Ornn support.
We honestly, going into the series, I did have to clarify with all the captains that the role swaps in the champ select is allowed. So I imagine Django's honestly more of the tank player in the top lane. If Fast Runner was going to play top, he's probably going to play more of those aggressive champions. But into Yorick, probably didn't want to run into that matchup, and they are going to probably be putting Django into the top lane on that stock standard Ornn. So yeah, they might have thrown a curveball to JSA, burning out all those enchanter supports from Django, and then they just swapped Django to the top lane to just avoid that completely here. So pretty intelligent draft from them. This is completely within the rules, and all the teams were in unison that this is okay, because job seekers in the past, when Stairboy was on the roster, often swapped around with Shortmaster. Quite frequently, those two swapped around, so every team can benefit from it pretty much here. But yeah, looks like we are gonna have Django in the top lane. They're basically running their exact same roster they usually run, just apart from Spingding being out of the 80k role, Gator's in. So we'll see what Gator's able to do for this team here. But yeah, I'm just worried about the amount of magic damage they did draft. If Gator doesn't pop off this game, even like the usual Ashe build, you want to go Wit's End. Now it's just basically completely off the table. Wit's End would have been very effective versus champions like Fizz to keep her alive. But now I feel like if you're going Wit's End, you're just completely pigeonholed into that magic damage. And all of those champions are just going to be stacking those Merc Treads, those Spirit Visages, just making your life a nightmare. So I think there's got to be a lot of focus on Gator to try and get a lead here. Let's try to get some sort of advantage, or at least not fall behind, because if he does, the magic resist is just going to come in clutch for job seekers.
Yeah, it definitely does seem to be leaning that way. I don't know. I think the Wit's End magic damage is not crazy, but and like especially considering you do usually get it like first or second item before all the MR will likely be coming online. But I can definitely agree that, you know, having a full crit build here is probably going to do more dividends for Gator in the late game than going for some kind of a hybrid damage build. But although obviously it does have the benefactor of not allowing you to be such a squishy, juicy bag of 300 gold for Fizz walking around. But this is going to be an interesting one. Definitely make some noise in the chat whether you think this one's going to be taken out by Job Seekers Alliance or Youngbloods. And correct me here, whoever loses this game is out of the tournament, correct?
It's not a playoff bracket by any means. It's just a standard 3-game round robin. So each team is going to play 2 games each. And the standings at the end of those 3 games is going to determine who moves ahead, and obviously there is the chance of having a 1-1-1 tiebreaker yet again, but we have the metric in place that we are measuring the victorious time for each team. So it's a kind of a sub goal for each team. When they do win, they want to make it as quick as possible. They want to smash their opponent. They want to snowball and get that victory, because if it does come down to the 1-1-1 tiebreaker again, it is gonna we're going to look at the games for each team, the game that they won, and take that time and use that to seed accordingly. And that doesn't feel great for a team, you know, if you go 1-1, but you won the slowest. But just to avoid just playing a possible endless amount of games, like, I don't think we want to be sitting here playing 6 games, be here at 10 at night and wondering when it's going to end. Like, I don't think you and I would survive it past as that point. And the viewers probably have some plans for their Saturday night. So yeah, we definitely want to try wrap up this tiebreaker scenario. But yeah, unfortunately for these teams, you know, that might lead to an unsatisfying end for one of the teams. But you got to do what you got to do. They had the whole season to determine themselves the stronger teams, but they couldn't, and now they find themselves in this do-or-die scenario, and we'll see what they can really do with their backs to the wall.
Very quickly, before we hop into this game, of course, big shout-outs to our major sponsors, the Territory's own Paul's Iced Coffee, celebrating 60 years here in the top end, the Northern Territory Government, and McDonald's Group Darwin, who are responsible for the majority of the McDonald's stores in the Darwin and Palmerston area. Big shout outs to those folks. Wouldn't be able to be here watching these teams battle it out in tiebreakers for maybe the biggest prize pool that the NTEL has had to date. Definitely a lot on the line here. And as well as that, we've got all of our lovely local business sponsors here. And don't forget, if you are a NTEL competitor of the sorts, you can claim discounts at basically every single local business up on your screen right now by just heading over to the Next Tier Gaming and Esports website. Now, hopping into our game in just a moment, folks. Definitely, I'm curious in the chat, who do you people think is going to take this one out? Because these two teams are tied for each other in both the regular season and, you know, possibly could even tie it out here in the tiebreakers. They're very, very close together. So I'm definitely curious, who do you guys think is actually going to come out on top in such a close competitive environment?
Yeah, to make sure you guys are making some noise in chat. I can already see that there's a lot of Gator fanboys, so he's brought his own fan club. I know Gator dabbled in a bit of streaming himself, so you guys probably kept up with that. And yeah, of course, another shout out to Shortmaster from Andrew Wilson. There's support on the job seekers side as well, so both spectators, both teams have their spectators rooting for them. So we'll see who ends up taking this and which spectators are going to be disappointed in the end, because, you know, only one of these teams can take it. But yeah, right now nothing crazy happening in the early game. But I was going to say, going into the series, that Youngbloods did look pretty shaken. They didn't really look like they had an idea or a plan coming towards the end of that season. But I think they've definitely prepared for this tiebreaker. The roles look great. Dark Knight's on a signature champion. Nick Chu's on a great ganking jungler. Gator and Faster on a paired up in the bot lane, and Django just on that solid tanks on top. They really know what strategy they're playing comfort, and they're going to try to take it to job seekers, who have been unstoppable recently.
Yeah, definitely. Job Seekers Alliance have been a team who have had an incredible amount of growth over the course of the season. They have a lot of players that, you know, are just basically new to the game in general. Nooblist, Nash, very, very new himself. In his last season that he debuted, I believe he might not have even been level 30. So he's definitely very fresh, only been playing the game the last couple of seasons, and already we're seeing him here in a top 4 team. His growth has been very, very fast. And a lot of that, I think, is just due to being in this team environment for a couple of years, being under the wing of more experienced players in the Northern Territory scene, like Chris Strider.
Yeah, Chris Strider is really being the person that brought all these people together for the NTE Esports competition, and they've just stuck with it for so many seasons now, just showing that sticking with a team, even, you know, if you're not the best individual players, as a team of 5, you can really overcome the odds, and they've really taken it to better, more skilled opponents, and that's why they find themselves here in this tiebreaker scenario. But yeah, just looking at the specific matchups we haven't talked about, honestly, in this bot lane, I would have given it over towards that Ashe a couple patches ago, but with items like Wit's End receiving nerfs, which is crucial for that Ashe, and the champion herself just getting a pretty significant nerf this patch, 4 seconds added onto the cooldown of W. Oh, hold that thought, because there's a big skirmish in the mid lane. Chris Strider trying to find that solo kill, but Dark Knight turning back around with the summoners.
Yeah, it's a very, very low fizz, and obviously Zoe with a flash bubble is very, very scary at the same time. Meanwhile, up on the top side, Django looking to get a little bit aggressive onto Zonox's Yorick, but I think both of these champions are not going to have kill pressure on each other for quite some time. I think Yorick maybe gets kill pressure once he gets the Maiden going, and a couple items, and I don't think Ornn maybe ever has solo kill pressure, but obviously his ability to set up ganks is massive. Dark Knight has to be careful though.
He's fine. Here's the flash, he was fine, he knew his limits. I saw him playing really far up into that lane, into the Ghost Tech Room, and I was like, oh, is he in a bit of trouble here? But he knows his limits on that champion. He's already taken such good control of this lane, and he's already taking so much pressure from the jungle as well. So yeah, we'll see what he's able to do on his signature champion, but Chris Strider seems to be doing just fine himself. Fast Run and Gator, though, have been really dominating this bot lane, and then, as I was saying, Nooblist gets caught out there. The absolute control this lane can have with the Ashe slows and the brand stuns. Really, you can't afford to miss position at all. And yeah, Swift punish. Looks like Nick Chu's looking for something in the mid lane here. I reckon they could pull off this dive if they manage to bait out that Fizzy. No flash on that Fizz. They're looking for it, but still a bit of an iffy situation. Doesn't look like they'll pull the trigger. And yeah, just Chris Strider just trying to hold the line here. Maybe Sergeant Crone's finally coming around, but Nick Chu seems to be scouting it out. They probably spot him out here. Chris Strider going
does
in,
have that barrier available, pops it, but here comes Hecarim. Chris Strider gets flashed on by Nick Chu. He's going to be the first one to go down. Dark Knight getting dangerously low. Sergeant Crone hot on his heels, is able to turn it around and find the kill. Does look like in the top side there's a bit of a tussle as well. Zonox in the middle of Django's creep wave. Does have to be careful, but I mean, what can I say? Yorick in those extended trades with the Ghoul. Very scary, but look out. Nikchu is getting dangerously low himself. Ends up getting out to safety. Still has that passive to fall back on if need be. The Cell Division.
Yeah, the jungler's tussling a bit there, but Sergeant Crone coming out ahead here. He's also got the CS lead for himself after finding that wave of his mid laner. But yeah, Chris Strider really the one suffering there. Because Dark Knight had the wave pushed into him, he did miss out on a lot of experience in gold, and he finds himself down a little bit on that Zoe there. But looking at Dark Knight's items, he's actually hasn't really backed for anything particularly strong here, just purchasing that stopwatch. And he already has a commencing stopwatch in the inventory. I really wonder what that's about. That is a very passive buy for me for someone who's been traditionally very aggressive. Dark Knight really just trying to destroy his opponents, building pretty defensive for possibly the first time I've seen him do it this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the thing about Fizz, right? Like, there's so many champions that will just, like, go out of their way to rush a Zhonya's Hourglass against Fizz specifically. Just because, you know, like, it's so good at just stopping what the champion wants to do, which is land Shark on you, and then as the Shark explodes, he lands on you with E, and then W, and then Q, and you just die from basically full health. Very little counterplay to it, but you know, I think Dopa was one of the people who really popularized it on his Twisted Fate, just rushing the Zhonya's Hourglass first in that matchup, and then when he lands the Shark on you, you just Zhonya's, and then every 2 minutes you basically can survive a Shark, which is every like 1.5 Sharks basically, give or take, and then all you have to do is just play safe while it's down, and it makes the job of the Fizz in that mid lane much harder to pull off when he is going up against these more immobile ranges that he typically would be allowed to land those Sharks on, leading to easy kills.
Dark Knight landing that poke onto the Fizz, but yeah, the only thing I find confusing is, correct me if I'm wrong, even though you have purchased the stopwatch, that commencing stopwatch is still going to get used up as if it was the regular stopwatch there. So I feel like it is a bit of a I'm not sure on that interaction, but it'd be incredibly depressing if that were the case, if he was able to apply the stopwatch just for that little bit of early security when he would have gotten the stopwatch anyway in a couple more minutes.
I know stopwatch and Zhonya's work independently. Yeah. I don't know about stopwatch and stopwatch though.
Yeah. Stopwatch has one unique use during the game. That's why the combo of Zhonya's hold that thought. There's just a big scuffle in the mid lane. Chris Strider out of mana though. Dark Knight almost out of mana, but still has enough gas in the tank to bring the fight there, and they end up winning out that exchange. But yeah, stopwatch, after you use it once during the game, it becomes broken. Doesn't matter how many more you buy, it's always going to be broken. So I do think that is a bit of a mispurchase there.
Yeah, it does look like in the inventory there we do see 2 broken stopwatches, which is unfortunate to say the least, but I mean at the same time, right, like that commencing stopwatch was commencing when he did pop that stopwatch, which arguably saved his life there. So maybe if he had have waited for the commencing, he wouldn't have gotten it off in time. So who knows, maybe that 600 gold was worth. We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, Django fighting for his life up here against the Maiden, but it looks like Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to land onto Shortmaster. That's going to be a quick, easy kill. Nublis going to be the second one to follow from that brand passive. Not even going to need it. Flash forward from Gator to snag that one up for himself, and that's going to be a beautiful 3 kills on the side of this Youngblood's bot lane.
Yeah, Gator wants that gold in his pocket. He's going to drop the flash just to secure that gold for now. Doesn't need that flash. He wants the gold. He wants the investment, and he wants to be dealing damage when these team fights come around. And right now he's looking in a spectacular position to carry. In these like sort of 4 AP 180 comps, it is a nightmare if the 180 gets a huge lead like this, and that's exactly what's happening. So all of a sudden you're not going to feel super comfortable building that Merc Treads anymore, because you might consider Ninja Turbo when this Ashe is just so fed. She's going to be wailing away at you with so many just champions peeling her with that Zoe, with that brand, and the tanks in the front line.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious if Ashe does go for Kraken Slayer here, if she's going to go for something. Actually, it does look like she's going for Shield Bow, which I don't know how I feel about it. I think this is definitely a composition where going for the Gale Force is really good because it allows you to dodge, you know, Fizz Shark. It allows you to dodge out of Hecarim ulti. It allows you to dodge things like the Nautilus Dredge line. So I think Gale Force actually has a lot of stock in this game, but instead going to be going for the Shield Bow, which, I mean, like, those are all things that I listed where if you get hit by them, I don't think Shield Bow even saves you. So, a little bit of an interesting, like, itemization choice there from Gator. But we'll have to see how it works out. I mean, he is winning lane at the moment. Enchanted Crystal Arrow, looked like it was going to land onto Shortmaster, but no, it's going to fat hitbox onto Nooblist and keep Caitlyn alive for one more day. But nevertheless, it does look like this Youngbloods bot lane keeping the pressure up on their opponents.
Yeah, and they've really just blown this game wide open. 3,000 gold here off of those bot lane players.
Here he comes, Nick Chu, though. Beautiful engage. They look for Shortmaster first. He's going to go down. Nick Chu getting out of the tower nicely. Gator going to be the second one to follow up. Gets maybe a little bit too aggressive. The Ignite comes through, but heal to keep him alive, and they do end up finding Nooblist there on that Nautilus under the tower. Gator alive to live another day, and they're just going to grab these plates up in the bot side. No dragon to speak of just yet for them to take in retaliation. They have to be careful though. Sergeant Crone is beelining his way down towards this bot line. Nick Chu.
That is the only hope for job seekers right now. Sergeant Crone needs to get stuff happening. Chris Strider's actually so far behind in CS in the mid lane that he's barely got any gold to his name here. So he's not going to be very effective. He's just really got to land that shark, have some roams, and really help out the rest of the map right here, because I don't think he's going to have much kill pressure versus Dark Knight anymore. But yeah, Sergeant Crane really needs to get that Divine Sundra online, and really needs to start making plays versus these champions. I feel like the Hecarim with the Sundra is still going to be stronger than an Ashe at this point, but still,
here comes Nick Chu, the Zac, the flash, the double stun! Beautiful play coming through from Nick Chu. Enchanted Crystal Arrow going a little bit wide out from Chris Strider, but they do force the flash. Dark Knight nearly grabbing him with that paddle star, but not quite, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Nick Chu, I told you Sergeant Crane needed to make something happen, but Nick Chu just stops him in his tracks there. Of course, Nick Chu, the no slouch himself, is absolutely smashing this game. And yeah, right now, Job Seekers is just getting absolutely trashed on in this laning phase, and traditionally, we've seen that not happen too often. They're usually pretty dominant themselves. They've had okay laning phases, but right now it's looking pretty awful for them. They've made comebacks in the past, but the games have gone really long, and versus this sort of composition when you're going late game versus an Ornn versus that Ashe.
Oh my goodness, here he comes again. I believe he does have Cell Division if he gets a little bit too low, but nevertheless setting up a huge Pyroclasm from Bran. That's going to be a dead Shortmaster. Nooblist potentially next on his list. No, they do decide to just back off here, take the one kill, but Nick Chu is just running around the map, putting the gold in his laner's pockets right now, and looks to be an unstoppable force.
Yeah, honestly, I think the main thing, everything else happening around the map is survivable, but the thing that isn't survivable is this bot lane lead, and I think it's come a lot off of that brand support here. Nooblist not looking as comfortable onto that. Nautilus keeps getting caught out, and the brand just excels so much at punishing you for mispositioning. Chengo trying to defend his tower.
Yeah, Zoe is on the way. He's just buying time right now. Sleepy Trouble Bubble going to go a little bit wide on Sergeant Crone, and they do decide to back off. They don't quite grab the turret in top side, and it is going to get taken away in the bot side by the Youngbloods duo, grabbing themselves that beautiful first tower gold for their team. Dragon up in less than a minute. Going to be exciting to see which team ends up fighting this one out. Obviously, Youngbloods do have a dragon of their own, but definitely a much larger gold disadvantage than last time they attempted that objective, so we'll see how Youngbloods bounce back.
Yeah, right now it's looking pretty poor for the side of Job Seekers right now. They don't really have any lane that's ahead, and we've got pretty interesting builds too. I've just looked over at this Yorick build, putting the Eclipse here versus the Ornn. I don't really see the point of doing something. You're much better off going at those tank busting items like the Sundra, but the Eclipse right now built into that Ornn. I don't think he's going to have much split list at all versus him. He's just going to be stacking that armor up and negating that armor penetration. Just look across the lanes right now. Almost all of Youngblood's sitting on a full item, and just their opponent's just picking up the scraps. Zonox is the only one surviving, but he's just going even with the Ornn, who's just going to have infinitely more value coming late game with those ornament upgrades, and just upgrading this Ashe and this brand that are already so far ahead is just going to be a nightmare for the enemy to deal with, and they have the perfect team composition to just play slow, play for these objectives, just force out these calculated fights, and yeah, they don't really have much to answer with on the other side. They got to find some miracle fizz engages, some miracle hooks or something to catch people out, because I think if they take it to the 5v5, there's literally no hope for this team. Sergeant Crone's actually going behind enemy lines here, so deep into the enemy jungles, even popping the ghost there, thinking he's called Gator out, but thank god he ends up getting blast coned away because Nikchu was waiting in the wings there. So yeah, they're just really trying to find their opportunities. It doesn't look pretty, but this is what you got to do when you're behind like this. You got to either wait for the enemy to make a crucial error, or you just got to try force plays, which the enemies aren't expecting. But right now, it looks like
Nikchu, he's real deep right now. Pyroclasm going to be doing its damage to Sergeant Crone. Nooblist as well. One more order will do the trick. That's going to be a very dead horse, as well as Nautilus following him up. 2 kills over to the side of Youngblood's Nikchu. What can I say? He's just able to play so aggressive right now. And it doesn't look like this Jobseekers Alliance lineup have any real hope of bringing him down.
Yeah, Nikchu, when he's onto these ganking jumpers and he gets these successful ganks, it doesn't seem to stop. When it rains, it pours, and he's currently just dominating the map with his Zac.
Has to watch out here. No, he's gonna get away.
He's gonna get out of there. Chris
Some of Waters is gonna land onto Nikchu.
Making aggressive play, but yeah, look at the rest
Cell
of the
division, oh no.
Trying to bail him out here, but I'm not sure if
Sergeant Crone, they're looking to finish him off here. Very, very low Zac, and he is finally going to get taken down. Shutdown gold going over to Chris Strider.
Yeah, they are going to take that one down. A little bit of shutdown on the response, but Sergeant Crone immediately caught out by a sleepy trouble bubble, and what trouble it has brought to him there. And Dark Knight isn't finished, he's flashing in. That was his real flash. He heavy committed to that. Catches Noobless sleeping. Noobless doesn't burn his own flash and is punished heavily for that. Dark Knight walks out with an extra kill and an extra stack on his Dark Seal. Yeah, right now it's the Youngbloods show. They are showing how dominant they are. They've prepared super well coming into this match. They look spectacular. And they're just playing exactly what they need to do to win the game. Gator got his lead. Nikchu's finding these successful games. Dark Knight on his signature Zoe, just absolutely tearing it up. And yeah, they just look like they've found their form again. This is what we saw at the start of the season. Youngbloods were absolutely demolishing teams, and they just ran out of gas towards the end. But right now, you can really see that they've come alive into this playoffs, this tiebreaker rather, and started off so strong for themselves. And having this early victory, if they're able to finish this one out, means so much. It means you're guaranteed to have a shot at that that 1-1-1 scenario at least. You're not going to go 0-2 and be immediately eliminated. Meanwhile, Jobseekers going 0-1. If they don't pick up that win versus Corona Spaceship, then they are immediately out. It doesn't matter the results of the other match. So they really got to make sure they recuperate themselves after this game, so that they're ready to face another do-or-die situation versus Corona Spaceship. But it is not over yet. I'm kind of running
Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to connect onto Shortmaster. Here comes Nikchu next to dive in. Look at the damage out of Fast Runner right now. Chris Strider trying to do his most, but it's just not enough. Here comes Sergeant Crone, though, looking to make his mark here. Tunneling down Gator. The shield bow is going to proc, though, and here comes Dark Knight to CC him up, peeling the horse off his 80 carry and securing that kill over to the side of Youngbloods. They managed to trade 3 for 1, and it looks like they're going to be knocking on the door of this Tier 1 mid tower.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, the game's not really over, but we see they have decent engages like that, finding the beautiful shark onto the super squishy brand, and it just still isn't enough for them to win out in fights because of stuff like the shield bow. The Sergeant Crone doesn't have the damage to burn through it at this point. There's too much peel, and champions like Nikchu and Dark Knight have health to spare at the end of that 44, so yeah, Jobseekers really have their tasks cut out for them. Almost 8,000 gold behind this early into the game, and now Gator doesn't need to build extra damage. The team's already snowballing hard enough, is going to itemize stuff like that with Zen just to make sure that Fizz isn't going to find any cheeky one-shots onto him. And yeah, the brand itemizing that Zonyas, they're already building defensive across the board, and just building defensive when you're ahead like this makes it so much harder to punish you. Even when they are making those mistakes, it's going to be so hard to punish because of the defensive stats of that build.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people kind of have a misconception of is that when you're ahead, you should build like damage to try and like snowball your lead, but it's almost just as good to build defensively when you're ahead because you're probably going to do more damage anyway, just due to level advantages and item advantages. But, you know, being much harder to kill is often a lot more valuable because this game has a ludicrous comeback mechanic built into it. Shutdowns are stupid. I don't like the mechanic myself. I think being punished for playing better is silly to the degree that it is in this game sometimes, but nevertheless, that does mean that if you are a player who is, you know, building towards things like you know, the Zhonyas and these Thorn Mails that we see getting queued up here by Django and Nick Chu. It's just going to make you a much harder target to kill. It's going to make you a much harder target to give those shutdowns over to, I guess. And therefore, you know, the enemy team is going to have less of a chance of coming back. And you're just going to be able to keep your lead, snowball it, probably close out the game. But, I mean, looking at the Vision game here, Jobseekers Alliance, you know, even though they are behind, definitely are no slouches at the Vision. Their whole jungle basically lit up at this stage of the game right now.
Yeah, look at Youngblood. They know exactly what they got to do now. They're eyeing up this purple worm here, and they're just laying the vision down, sweeping out any vision job seekers have. And look at them. They're just playing at their second tier tower because that's where they have to be versus champions like the Zoe.
Oh
like
my!
Need to take you off, and oh, so close. If the Ashe was on point, maybe she could have followed up with the arrow there, but she's quite far away on the other side of the map. I always do like seeing those plays in professional play, pairing the Ezreal with the Zoe, so even if you hit a long range bubble like that, the Ezreal can always follow up and get that big chunk off, possibly even the kill. But right now, I think that is more than enough to secure them priority to get this Baron, and yeah, with the gold lead they have, it's almost suicide for them to attempt any sort of steal here. And Youngbloods are just going to pick up the purple worm for free, and they are going to be taking this into the Jobseeker's base here. We'll see what they can do to defend. We see the Zoe bubbles coming in already. That's one of many. Just the Ashe volleys is going to be coming in. Nick Chu just hovering on the side, pressuring at all times. And yeah, looking at the wave clear onto the other side of the enemy team, there's almost nothing there. Just the Caitlyn has the best wave clear. And this is what happens when you don't have wave clear. You just get dived in, the minions stacked up, makes the dive so easy, and they're still just looking off on the side here. No fish for Chris Strider because he used it and it went wide. Sergeant Crone looking for a big flank, but right now it's just a 4v5.
Oh my goodness, and here comes Sergeant Crone, tries to get them in there with the Charge of Darkness. Nick Chu just doing so good at just peeling for his backline right now, I gotta say. Nick Chu has just played out of his mind this game, looking to close that out all the way to the very end. They do have the Heralds looking to charge the Nexus Towers here.
Really taking it all the way. They really want this early win. They're, I think, keeping that time advantage in the back of their mind here. And they're going for the win at 23 minutes into the game. They're trying so hard to stop it. Jobseeker's doing everything they can, but it looks like Youngbloods are going to force their way through the door here and pick up this win in quite quick fashion. And this sets them up so well for that 1-1-1 tiebreaker. 23 minutes on the board when they pick up their victory, and Youngbloods are looking spectacular come into this tiebreaker.
Yeah, beautiful game there from the side of Youngbloods. 23 minutes and 9 seconds on the victory, which, I mean, you know, even if the side of Jobseekers Alliance wanted to FF that one, they definitely wouldn't have been able to for very long before they got taken out the normal way. But, you know, I gotta say, just definitely a wonderful, wonderful game there played from the side of Youngbloods, really solidifying themselves as one of the better teams, showing why at one point in the season, you know, they were in first place towards the very start, but definitely, I think a lot of this game came down to Nick Chu. Just absolutely put the pressure on these lanes, shut down a lot of Sergeant Crone's attempts at putting his team back into the game. He was just absolutely everywhere with this Zac pick. Which I really like. I think Zac is a better champion than things like the Sejuani that we've typically seen him on. So seeing him play these sorts of champions definitely is showing the full potential that he can really pull off as a player. So great to see.
Yeah, Zach does have his weaknesses as a champion, but if you're not drafting anything to counteract that Zach's thing, it's like the Thresh that can instantly cancel that E, which is where most of the power is for that champion, then he just gets so many free ganks. He's ganking you from his Wraith camp. It's just really hard to deal with him. You don't have the proper champions to counteract him, and right now it was pretty clear to see that Nixiu was unstoppable in those ganks. But yeah, really that Youngblood's bot lane just being so self-sufficient, pummeling that lane using a really aggressive champion like that brand, paired up with the Ashe, just setting up for each other's pokes so easily. They were just permanent priority into that bot lane, and Sergeant Crone just didn't make it to that lane in time. And yeah, I think just what it came down to was better preparation. Youngbloods really came in with a great game plan. They had Django on that support role there, kind of fooled Jobseekers. They took away most of their enchanters, which left a lot of these other champions up for the rest of the cast here. Zoe being available for Dark Knight is just silly to me, especially if you're going to be locking away that Fizz there.
Just yeah, certainly. So, are MVP and SVP in this tiebreaker series, or are we skipping over that?
I think we'll do a vote. It's to be decided whether we actually have the mystery skins to give out. I think since they're additional games, they won't count towards that mystery skin vote. But we can go ahead and give our votes anyway, just to.
I think Nixiu MVP, probably for sure, and then probably Sergeant Crone for SVP. Because although he wasn't able to get much done, I think he was definitely getting the most done on his team, and that obviously reflects in highest KP on the team overall. Zonox was basically just hitting creeps and towers the whole game, as Yorick tends to do, which didn't do a whole lot for his team when they were just getting clapped bot side so heavily. But yeah, those are my votes. What about you?
Honestly, I say you could vote for everyone on the side of the Youngbloods apart from Django, because he was just like the stopping the door stop there, just keeping Zonox from opening that door for the rest of his team. And unfortunate for him, that does kind of rule him out of the SVP vote too, because he didn't really do anything like you said. But yeah, I think for that bot side there, I think a lot of the plays a lot of the damage was brought there by Fast Runner. He actually absolutely just handled that bot lane so well in the early game, landing those crucial stuns, picking up those early kills, getting that snowball going. But I do agree, Nixiu probably had a bigger game presence there, making sure all those lanes are put ahead there, apart from the top lane. He stopped a lot of the Sergeant Crone's plays in the mid lane and set up Dark Knight early on for success, making sure that the game just really went towards their favor. And just, the bot lane snowball was good, but yeah, Nixiu just really exaggerated it more than it ever really should have been by coming bot lane, setting up those dives, setting up the Herald plays. He was just all over the map and just doing everything his team needed him to. So yeah, Nixiu MVP. I can agree with Sergeant Crone. SVP, he gave it his best shot. Chris Strata was close. He tried to find his angles and he ended up coming out with an okay scoreline, but I just think he was playing too passive on that Fizz. He really needed to just translate
definitely pick the
other lanes.
Snowball on. Not only that, but obviously 97 farm on your mid laner is not ideal, to say the least, even if you are against a matchup like the Zoe. So yeah, that's who I would vote. I mean, I think down to play of the game for me would definitely be that gank in the mid lane where Dark Knight on the brink of death from Sergeant Crone and Chris Strider, and then in comes Nixiu, lands the E onto Sergeant Crone, hits the Q, and then flashes forward to get the auto attack onto Chris Strider, slams them both together, forces the flash out of Chris Strider, and gets the kill onto Sergeant Crone, completely flips that mid lane into just an absolute domination machine for the rest of the game. So super well played, in my opinion, from Nixiu, but I think that's going to be that, folks. But in the meantime, let's talk about what we've got coming up next, because this is not just a one-game show. We're going to be having matches going on all the way into the evening. Coming up next at 4 p.m. is going to be Corona Spaceship going up against our current losing team, Jobseekers Alliance. We'll see if they're able to bounce back. And then Youngbloods going to be making their debut yet again at 5 o'clock against Corona Spaceship. So make sure you're around to catch those games and don't go anywhere, right here on NTEL. Well, welcome back to our next tiebreaker game. This is going to be the second one of the afternoon. We have Corona Spaceship going up against Jobseekers Alliance, who are just coming off of a loss against Youngbloods. I'm Katie, is joined here on the desk by Blooddexa. How do we feel about this game?
Still here, guys. Ready for this next matchup now. Coming into this matchup, Jobseekers, obviously the stakes are a lot higher for them now after dropping that first game. Two Youngbloods here. And Corona Spaceship got to be feeling pretty confident because all they really need here is a win. They don't have to worry about any ties. As soon as they win this matchup versus Jobseekers are eliminated for playoffs and they'll just be fighting for seeding. But the important part is they'll make it through. So Jobseekers backed literally to the wall now. One more slip and they're gone from this competition after such a hard-fought season. They came back towards the end. They were just sitting in that fifth position for so long, and it looked pretty hard for them to make it back, but they've made it all the way here. For them to fall at the end would be so devastating for them. But we'll see what they can do.
Definitely a lot is riding on the line. You're right about that. But I mean, I'm excited to see exactly how they play here against the Corona Spaceship lineup, because Jobseekers are a team that has shown immense growth over the course of the season. I think that Corona Spaceship may be the team that has exhibited that sort of growth in the same sort of way. Definitely have gone from a team that, you know, was down the bottom to one of the teams that is doing the best. And as we head into Champ Select here, obviously Sergeant Crone's Rek'Sai are going to be first on the chopping block, but seems like Jobseekers Alliance are attacking a much different angle compared to what they went when they were going against Youngbloods.
Yep, they're just absolutely taking away some of the power picks they have here. Rek'Sai being taken away, Aurelia being such a good flex between top and mid getting taken away, and Tom Kent being taken away just to allow, just really, Pandemonium really must want a favourable matchup in the top lane, taking those champs away. And of course they don't want Sergeant Crone to get out of hand, and Rek'Sai could definitely do that for them. But I think really the focus is going to be on jungle here, on Fleek being one of the best players on his team. Switching over to the jungle role now. I believe when they beat Youngbloods, it was on Fleek absolutely gapping the jungle here. Just putting on a clinic on how to carry from the jungle role on that Lee Sin. And Lee Sin was let through. And lo and behold, it is locked in. On Fleek is taking that Lee Sin. And he is going to try and bring it to Jobseekers and try to get this win under 23 minutes, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this one goes. We obviously are going to have a very exciting game with Lee Sin on the table. Let's see what the response pick is going to look like here, though. Cho'Gath for Nooblist, which definitely maybe his signature champion up in the top side. Can also be flexed towards the mid lane for Chris Strider and even the jungle to a degree. But I do believe that Nooblist is the player with the comfortability on this champ.
Yeah, Sergeant Crone has shown what he can do with this Lilia too. Absolutely, like almost solo carrying with this last Lilia performance, just doing disgusting amounts of damage by the end of the game, upwards of like 50,000. And now Ziggs getting locked away. Some great power picks being locked away. Lee Sin, one of the most contested junglers. Ziggs, one of the most contested AD carries.
And mids, yeah.
Not very AD. Even though not an AD, you know.
Definitely one of the best mids and going down towards that AP carry role as well. So a bit of flexibility there. They do decide to hover a mid laner, but decide to go for the top laner, which I actually do like a lot more, as it leaves your AD carry pick and mid pick a little more ambiguous, because you have the Ziggs locked in there, rather than knowing which one is going to go mid, which one is going to go towards the bot side in general. But Mordekaiser into Cho'Gath is basically locked in here for the most part. How do you think that one is going to pan out?
I think that matchup is basically even, but I do like Mordekaiser as a champion to just really focus in on the other sides of the map, because Mordekaiser with that ultimate makes it very hard to gank him, obviously. So he can be pretty self-sufficient in that top lane, basically never get dived with that ultimate available, and it means you can really play heavy mid focus, heavy bot side focus, and just leave the Mordekaiser on that island because he has that ultimate available. But yeah, the focus now is going to be pretty heavy with that Renekton being locked in, I imagine, around the mid lane.
It's an interesting Renekton lock-in too, because Diana actually up on the board, like she is available to be locked in, but didn't go for it, instead opting for the Renekton here, which as you were saying, has basically been put in the dirt over the last couple patches, which, I mean, is interesting because a lot of people in the competitive scene, notably LS, I think, is the most verbal about it, is that Renekton sucked in the first place, and teams were basically trolling by picking him, and they just kept picking him. And then now he's nerfed, so now he's even worse. So interesting that, he's still being locked in here, but Chris Strider obviously does have the comfortability on the champion, and I think maybe at the end of the day, like, comfortability is what matters most. We'll have to wait and see. But second round of ban phase, Caitlyn, Braum going to be the bans taken away by Jobseeker's Brand, getting taken off the board by the side of Corona Spaceship, and final ban, taking their time with this one. It is going to be Ezreal. Okay, so both teams need a bot lane here, or in the case of Corona Spaceship, they need either a support or a mid laner. If they do decide to take the Ziggs bot, we'll have to wait and see. It just depends on if they're comfortable taking that Renekton matchup or not.
Yeah, I just dislike Renekton right now as a blind pick mid laner, especially. In pro play, I think he's just going to be dead as a blind pick. You could probably still see him as a counter pick, but seeing him as a blind pick mid, there's so many mid champions that are able to just completely just negate any interaction. Like, even if they put the Ziggs into the mid lane right now versus that Renekton, he's never going to get close to that Ziggs spare and E-flash onto him. And even then, that Ziggs can just take the cleanse, take whatever he wants to just get out of that. And he might not even be enough now that Renekton's been heavily nerfed. He can just focus on wave clearing, and once you get towards those team fights, that Ziggs is going to have infinitely more potential. But talking about team fighting now, Misfortune, Shortmaster had some absolutely crazy games on that Misfortune and had solo carried, and they've got that locked in for Shortmaster now. Sonic's looking to just pick up a support to pair well with that MF and try and have a win condition in that bot lane for them.
Yeah, Misfortune, very, very good AD carry here, but QuoPro locking in the Tristana here. It does look like that's going to be given over to Fevens. So, the Tristana Misfortune matchup, and they are taking Lulu here, which is an interesting one to say the least, but I mean, it does allow you to have polymorph against things like the Nautilus and the Lee Sin especially. Obviously, the Lee Sin, if he does take that Sonic Wave, is going to get hit by the polymorph and then makes it very hard to pull off the insect combos. Decides to go for the Morgana instead, which I much prefer here. Obviously, Morgana and Misfortune have incredible synergy, not just in their defense of Morgana being able to protect Misfortune against this Nautilus, but on top of that also, Morgana lands a binding, Misfortune drops the ultimate. You can pretty much solo kill anybody from doing that. So very, very scary pressure that these two have once they do get level 6. Does look like Ziggs is going to go into that mid lane. I thought there was still maybe some potential to put the Tristana mid as a bit of a cheese. Also, you can rocket jump away from Renekton and really bully him with those ranged autos. But no, they are going to put the Tristana in the AD carry role and put the... Oh!
Or are they?
Or are they?
It around right now. And yeah, like you said, I think Tristana can do fine into that Renekton matchup. I think, honestly, still, I prefer Ziggs into that. But the Tristana has infinitely better scaling if you put her into that solo lane right there, and she's able to just farm up, get the solo experience. Having a Tristana AD carry with that accelerator ahead is just going to be such a force to be reckoned with. But also,
that was almost too perfect that I read the swap before it even happened, and then as soon as I said it, then they did it. But yeah, no, that's really good in my opinion, because Ziggs is going to have a much better time dealing with the Misfortune wave clear, because it is fairly decent, and pushing the Misfortune under tower so that she doesn't really have the ability to sit around and fish for those Qs is definitely going to be good. And having a minion advantage is always going to be good when you have a Nautilus and they have a Morgana, because it's going to thin out the way for Nautilus to land hooks, and it's going to give you a wave to dodge out of Morgana bindings. So I do like the Ziggs there, as opposed to Tristana. Tristana does have some wave clear because of her E, the passive component of it, should I say, but I don't know. I think Ziggs is just very, very dominant in a bot lane scenario anyway, because you're able to get the shove in and then just pressure the tower a lot more than you're able to in something like the mid lane, where if you're pressuring the tower, Lilia can just pay you a visit and finish you off with relative ease. So we'll have to see how it goes. Definitely, I think both are viable, but I mean, putting less emphasis on the Ziggs here, obviously Tristana is going to have a much, much better time scaling against a Renekton who probably can't even do anything to her, than against, something like a Misfortune Morgana, where Morgana just has to land one binding, and then Tristana might just die in the duration of it. So we'll have to wait and see, but either way, while we are waiting, let's have a quick look at our sponsors yet again. The Territory Zone Pulls Iced Coffee, the Northern Territory Government, and McDonald's Group Darwin are our beautiful major sponsors for this season, delivering the awesome prize pool that these folks are battling it out for in these games. And as well as that, we've got all of these wonderful local businesses supporting us as our minor sponsors, and you can actually claim discounts at every single minor sponsor that you see on your screen right here. All you have to do is head over to the Next Tier Gaming and Esports website if you are competing in the NTEL. And I'm not just talking League of Legends, I'm talking all of our fighting games, I'm talking Rocket League, absolutely anything. And even if you were on a team that's been knocked out of the competition, for those of you folks at the bottom of the leaderboard, not making it into playoffs for League of Legends, they are still valid all the way until the end of the season, even if you're not in the competition still. So make sure you definitely take advantage of that if you can. And in the meantime, we are going to hop into our game in a few short seconds. But Blacksa, what are your final thoughts about these drafts?
I think honestly, this draft is a lot more up rather Job Seeker's alley. This is probably the easier to execute comp. They do really well when they have that team fight stuff. They have solid lane picks. They have solid team fight. They've got basically all the tills they need to set up for those skirmishes that they're really well known for. But right now they've been answered pretty well. I think they have really good lane answers across the board for the side of Corona Spaceship. So say Corona Spaceship have slightly won out a draft just going off of the lanes, but if they're making it to team fights and the game's in an even state, I can really see Corona Spaceship, Job Seekers thriving with this sort of composition. So I'm not going to give it to any team right now, but I'm excited to see how it's going to go. I think it's crucial for Job Seekers to survive the laning phase of this game and get towards those 5v5s.
You'll have to wait and see. Chris Strider, though, definitely going aggressive here, taking the Ignite. No cleanse to speak of on the side of this Tristana, which, I mean, against Lilia Renekton is definitely brave, especially Morgana as well, being present in the match. No cleanse to speak of in the bot side for the Ziggs either, instead going for that heal and exhaust on Quopro, which is a bit of an interesting one. Definitely normally expect your Nautiluses to go for the Ignite, have that extra bit of kill pressure, but maybe just looking to play it safe. Really just try and go for the objectives here with that Ziggs. Melt down the tower. We'll have to wait and see, but, as you were saying, all eyes in this game are going to be on Fleek. He is the player who, in the past, has shown that he's able to 1v9 carry games off of this Lee Sin role, but he is going up against, one of the better junglers in the series, Sergeant Crone, on one of his more prolific champions, so we'll have to just wait and see exactly how this one pans out.
Yeah, and unlike most other champions, patch received pretty significant nerfs. Lilia received an adjustment, which is mostly a buff. They toned down her passive health regen, but they really upped the health regen and the mobility she got off her camps. So Lilia jungle looking a lot stronger, but they did sort of nerf Lilia laning, but people weren't playing mid Lilia anymore. There was a little bit of the time where people picked that up, but yeah, Lilia jungle looking much stronger this patch. And yeah, Sergeant Crone is going to be looking to put those buffs to good use, but I think Lee Sin copped a tiny bit of a nerf. He used to have 70 AD or something ridiculous, and now they took him down 2 AD. It's kind of significant. We've seen big nerfs like Graves 1 AD in the past. It's a bit of a meme, but it actually did take down his win rate a significant amount. So we'll see how that affects Lee Sin in the meta right now, but I think Fleek isn't going to need that extra 2 AD for the plays he's going to be making. We'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, they've got the tools to deal with this Lee Sin right now. Lee Sin does really well when he's able to just go into those fights and just get off all his spells and just get out. But there's a lot of lockdown. If you try to go in, follow that Q up, you might get Renekton stunned, and you might not move again before you're dead with the silence from Cho'Gath. The binding, the knockups, they're everywhere. There's so much CC onto the side of Job Seekers right now, so it's going to be very hard for champions like Tristan to be jumping in, Lee Sin jumping in. They got to use that range advantage.
Yeah, the backline here of Corona Spaceship is definitely one to be trifled with. I think that Lee Sin in this game, obviously that's just one of the best things about Lee Sin, is the champion just fills so many roles by himself. You can really pick the Lee Sin to do a variety of things. He's like the Swiss Army knife of League of Legends champions in a way. And, you know, when you do have such a dominant backline like this and you're playing against threats like, you know, the Cho'Gath, the Renekton, the Lilia, it's usually better anyway to just kind of sit back and just use, you know, the Dragon's Rage more so as a tool to get people off your team rather than trying to go for those crazy insect plays and initiation plays in that sort of regard. So we'll have to wait and see how he does it, but I definitely would expect him to just more so focus on peeling this backline. But Lilia off to a bit of an unhealthy start with her jungle clear. I'm sure people saw her nearly just die there to red buff, so we'll see how that impacts her. Especially since on fleek does look to be going
get a lot
for
of regen now.
Cheeky little 3 camp or a 4 camp here into that top side scuttle or gank. We'll have to wait and see, but definitely could be some exciting action in the top side once this Lee Sin finishes off these next couple camps.
Yeah, Lee Sin right now, it's not looking super favorable for him in the lanes. I think the top lane is slowly pushing towards Nublis, so it's going to be really hard to get a gank off top side, and it's not going to be easy getting a gank off mid by any means as well, with that Tristana getting priority. So I think he's probably just going to look for that Scuttle Crab and maybe a bit of an invade, but Silent Crone's already clean sweeped his top side here. And there's basically nothing for on fleek onto the top side to be had, so he's just got to make sure he's farming up, trying to get to that level 6 where Lee Sin can really start making some crazy plays. This bot lane though, looks like Zonox and Shortmaster doing pretty well for themselves. I'd say Zig's bot actually isn't that bad to deal with until he gets his lost chapter. Most AD carries, you know, they'll win the war of attrition just because the mana bar will eventually run out for that Ziggs. But once he gets lost chapter, then he's basically got infinite sustain into that lane. He'll just throw Q upon Q, push every wave endlessly, and yeah, as an AD carry, you just can't keep up with that wave clear with your own auto attacks. So they've got a little bit of a chance into this early game to get some advantages built, but yeah, that Ziggs, even if the support...
Oh, Nublis has to watch out here though, is on fleek, looking to go in, the Sonic Wave does connect, he has the energy to take it up. Do they have the damage to finish him off here? No flash available for Nublis, tries to go for the Rupture here to get a little bit of distance, but it is going to be enough, he's going to get out. That was looking scary for a moment.
Yeah, Sergeant Crow is trying to find Hunt in the mid lane, but alas, no kill in the mid lane there, but a decent amount of damage down onto Hunt. He might have to be careful. Kristrada flashing on him, trying to finish him off, but the all-in, like we were talking about, is significantly less scary now that the stun is just almost half the duration of what it used to be. It's very hard to get those one-shots. But yeah, on the fleek, did actually find something into the top side. Nublis did push up, so great wave manipulation from Pandemonium to get that wave into the tower and get the wave to bounce back. So Nublis had to basically walk up to be farmed there, and he had to burn both his summoners as a result of that gank.
It definitely is one of the core foundations of top lane, is that wave kind of ebb and flow of, you know, it pushes in one tower and then that means it's going to push into the other tower and then it means it's going to push into the other tower, and kind of means the top laners, in a way, more so than most lanes in the game, sort of take turns being the attackers and the defenders. And unfortunately, Quopro going a little bit wide on that dredge line. Zonox is actually late to the Black Shield, but didn't even matter because the skill shot missed. So hopefully that blunder doesn't continue, as that could have been potentially a kill if it landed.
Yeah, I think Ziggs probably didn't have enough mana to secure a kill, but yeah, definitely would have put Misfortune in a very bad situation in that lane. Already finding herself at the tower. Ziggs is looking to get a pretty big reset here. And yeah, just get ever so close to that lost chapter, which I talked about, which really, once he secures that lost chapter, the Nautilus doesn't have to lane anymore. We often see when Ziggs is picked in pro, that Ziggs gets that lost chapter, and the support just perma roams and makes the rest of the map so hard to deal with.
I was going to say that, unfortunately, Ziggs does not have enough gold in his pocket to back and get that lost chapter. He's about 100 off, but they just stopped his recall, so he's going to get another wave, so he actually will have enough to get the item, which is going to be maybe even worse for them than if they just had to let him recall there. But Nublis has to watch out here. He doesn't have flash available. Pandemonium does. He's going to flash forward with the Q, and that's going to be first blood going over to the Mordekaiser up in the top side. Oh, and he's going to transition it right into that TP, looking to get them off the bot lane. Not in range for that Death Realm, unfortunately, but super well played up in the top side. Knew that he had the kill, knew that there was no flash on the Cho'Gath, and went all the way with it.
Yeah, the butterfly effect of that gank allows Pandemonium to pick up that kill into the top side there. Oh, Kristrada going all in mid lane, but Hunt tries to find the insect back into his own tower. He is going to drop to the Ignite, and Kristrada finds the solo kill. No need to even burn his ultimate there. The nerfs are not enough to stop this Crocodile in the mid lane, and Hunt ends up going down, but looks like the rest of Corona's Spaceship do not care. Chris Strider's not going to be here for the dragon, and they translate that into the first dragon of the game.
Yeah, super well played. Definitely love to see that sort of an outcome from the side of this Job Seekers Alliance lineup. They find themselves the solo kill in the mid lane. Chris Strider kind of waiting for it all this time, really. He's gone for the steel caps as well with the Doran shield, just trying to sustain out these Tristana auto attacks the best he can.
Yeah, that's pretty huge for the team right now. It's keeping the game even, dead even, after pretty much disaster happened in that top lane. So Chris Strider's got a little bit of advantage for Sergeant Crone to work around here. And now that Sergeant Crone's level 6 and that Tristana has no summons, they really should look to try and take that Tristana. Even with the rocket jump, if they're able to find just one Lilia ability, it should be pretty easy to just secure that kill on the squishy Tristana without her summons available. But Sergeant Crone has his whole top side up here. He's probably going to be looking to just farm up as much as he can and get towards those crucial items, because Lilia really does scale off those items super well. The Liandry's, of course, working so well with her passive that it's really important to just hit those items.
Yeah, I do think Lilias are pretty much all going Liandry's now. I remember there was a period of time earlier in the season where, you know, the meta Liandry's build was just that Moonstaff, going for the Moonstone into the Staff of Flowing Water and just getting tons of move speed, tons of AP, and coming online much faster than something like a Liandry's would. But, you know, now that it's been changed, it no longer gives move speed, it now gives cooldown. It's less good, but Nooble's in the spot of bother now.
Yeah, the rest of his team is going to be there to back up even after the Death Realm ends, but...
Ooh, great flash over the wall is going to keep him alive. On fleek, looking to chase, misses the Sonic Wave, going to make up for it with a flash into the Dragon's Rage. And they do find themselves the kill, but quite a few resources expended there from On Fleek. They are looking for the Rift Herald here.
They threw the whole kitchen sink to finish off Nooblis there. And they do eventually get that kill, and they're looking to translate it now. But Sergeant Crone going for a big play, double sleep there. Chris Strider in there, in the middle of two people.
They do find it, but here comes Hunt. He's arrived a little bit late. It might have been too late, as now he's left himself in a 1v2 situation. Able to find the kill onto Chris Strider. Reset available, going in onto Sergeant Crone with that rocket jump. But he is not going to have enough damage as the exhaust. Unfortunately, he is
what happens
going to go down.
Through the whole kitchen sink at Nooblis, and you had nothing left in the tank to fight Sergeant Crone and Chris Strider off. They find off the Miracle 2v3, and they get their Herald there for themselves. That's a huge turnaround for them. But yeah, it's just a little bit of mis-execution. I'm not sure exactly where Hunt was. Was he picking up the wave topside to not be there? But even then, that shouldn't have been that possible for the side of Job Seekers, but they make a brilliant play. Sergeant Crone flashes in, finds the double sleep. They're stacking their AoEs on top of each other, and they win that fight outright. But still, it's not by any means a significant lead. They're still having to deal with the scaling issue. This Renekton is really big now, but once he gets into those 5v5 team fights, it's not going to be anywhere near as easy for him to pull off what he just did.
Yeah, it's often the case that Renekton is kind of criticized as a pick for his lack of flexibility in how he can play. I mean, he really only does one job, and that's pop the ultimate and just run at the enemy team full force. He can't really play the kite game. He can't really play the poke game. All he has is his ability to just go in, play team fights very front to back, and, you know, be that front man for your team, going in there, soaking up big amounts of damage, stunning the backline, you know, things of that nature. And that's kind of his only role that he can fulfill in a composition. And, you know, that's why he's such a risky pick, because if you are behind and your team can't run in, then, you know, you have no role to fill. And then the champion is just completely irrelevant. You're basically playing a 4v5 at that point. So falling behind on Renekton is absolutely disastrous. Thankfully, Chris Strider absolutely huge at this stage of the game right now. Even in CS with the Tristana that he was laning against, and a whole, you know, 2 kills up on her as well. But it is a matter of time where, you know, things even out, and all of a sudden Renekton does have a harder time doing his job. But Great Dredgeline is actually going to connect here, and unfortunately the Black Shield, oh my goodness, Sergeant Crone coming in at just the right time there. Zonox Black Shielded himself when it was Shortmaster that got hit by the Death Charge, and that almost could have been a terrifying collapse from the Ziggs. But Sergeant Crone coming in there to dissuade that little bit of a 2v2 engage.
Yeah, on fleek here, finding Sergeant Crone. They're jumping in on him. They're gonna find him just easy able to pick up the squishy Lilia. That is Lilia's main problem. She's so mobile, but if you do find her caught out, she's so easy to just pick off like that. There's not much health or just any survivability in the kit other than that movement speed. You gotta be kiting out as well, and it's very hard to do that on a Lee Sin who lends a Q on you.
Yeah, only in the early game though, right? Because you get the Leandry's Toornament, which gives you a massive amount of health as well. And then you obviously go defensive boots on Lilia most of the time, and then you're usually flexing into things like the Morellonomicon, like the Dead Man's Plate, things of that nature, or, you know, the Rylai's, stuff that is going to give you health anyway. And in the case of the Dead Man's Plate, obviously a fair amount of armor as well to boot. So she does, just due to the nature of the items that she wants to pick up, usually end up having quite a lot of health and quite a lot of resistances, as well as doing a terrible amount of damage. So you do have to watch out as she does scale into the late game. And Hunt looking to maybe get collapsed on here, but great usage of the rocket jump there. Reacts in time, is able to get out of the slice and dice.
Yeah, honestly, I think the best in slot Lily item for the second one there.
Ooh, great insect though. He's looking to go aggressive onto Hunt here, but maybe not having enough damage. The barrier coming through to keep this Tristana alive, and yes, indeed, a bit of a panic flash there from the Trist. But nevertheless, Sergeant Crone making his reactions. Rift Herald dropped up in the top side. Zonox have to be careful here, actually. Ziggs it does find the solo kill, and they're going to grab MF to boot.
Oh no, disaster is starting to strike across the map. Sergeant Crone was trying to get Nooblis a little bit of gold in his pocket, dropping the Herald top, but as soon as he does that, there's a big response on the other side of the map. On fleek sets up a kill mid, on fleek sets up a kill bot, and now it's just gonna snowball into the Dragon, into more tower plates, and that is a huge play for the side of Corona Spaceship, taking the lead into this game now. Yeah, as I was saying before, I think the best in-slot item is that Zhonya's, because it allows you to just go in for that flash Q onto multiple targets and set up the huge teamfight ultimate that is the Lilia Sleep here. And even if you build that health and stuff, there's a high probability that if you flash into a Nordis or something like that, you're not making it out. Doesn't matter how much resistances you build, you really got to have that stasis available to make big flash plays like that. And we've seen that's what Sergeant Crone has been going for on the signature Lilia pick. We saw him even do it without the Zhonyas into that Rift Herald fight. But yeah, once he does complete it, he's going to become so much more powerful, just able to sleep the whole team and just be able to make it out scot-free with that Zhonya's. But we'll see if he ends up going that direction. Right now, he might have to itemize a little bit of the armor versus that Lee Sin and that Tristana that are going to be jumping on him.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Only time will tell, but I do agree Zhonya's a great item for sure on her. She's got a lot of options that she can go for. So here comes On Fleek yet again, tries to go for that insect, but a well-timed flash from Nooblis is going to keep him nice and safe. You can actually do Lee Sin insects in a way that makes it impossible for them to be flashed, but you do have to be very, very, very fast with the trigger, and most of them involve using your own flash, which I guess On Fleek didn't want to commit in that situation, but he's just going to get the free summoner spell out of the top side. Make it very scary for this Nooblis Cho'Gath to walk up in lane. And now Lee Sin right back to farming.
Yeah, that was. I was just impressed how fast he was able to do that combo. If Nooblis just went for the instant flash. If he did it any later, he probably would have been picked up there. Sergeant Crone going for the kill onto Quopro, but does he have the damage on his own? He does not. Zonox is able to find the flash out, and now trying to turn it back around onto Zonox here. And the rest of the team is collapsing.
Getting very low. One more bomb will do the trick. We'll see if he can land it. Meanwhile, Sergeant Crone unfortunately walking the wrong way. They do find Zonox, but as well as that, they're able to grab themselves Sergeant Crone, and things are just going from bad to worse for this Chomp Seekers Alliance lineup. 2 dragons on the side of this Corona Spaceship lineup, which is not to be ignored. You know, you do have, very, very scary potential here for when this Mountain Dragon does spawn. You know, you could be looking at Soul Point and, around a 25-minute Mountain Soul on a comp that has this much of a backline. It's very scary to deal with, so we'll have to wait and see. But Feven's actually getting very low from the ultimate. Shortmaster going a little aggressive there, and unfortunately Ziggs does miss the bomb, which is going to result in a nice little solo kill for the AD carry of Jobseekers Alliance. But again, it's not going to be without a cost. The ebb and flow. Pandemonium finding the solo kill on Nublist up on the top side. They're going to rotate that over towards a Herald. Hunt is going to find the mid lane tower on that Tristana, doing what Triss does best, which is blowing up those towers with the E.
Yeah, we see Chris Strider's time slowly starting to end here now that Tristana is starting to ramp up, has more range, has way more damage than she used to, and yeah, she's just able to take complete priority of that mid lane onto the Renekton. Really needs Sard and Crone to be hovering him to have any sort of pressure in that lane, and even then Tristana having the rocket jump at all times is so hard to punish playing like this. And yeah, I don't know what Jobseekers really has left for them. They got to be setting up some huge wombo combos. Lilia Sleep actually doesn't get procced by Misfortune Ultimate because it's coded as damage over time, I believe. So you're able to find a huge Lilia Sleep and pair that with the MF ult. None of them will actually wake up and you get the full duration. Pro caught out here.
Unfortunately, just kind of caught slept in the middle of nowhere. But this is going to be the best chance that, you know, this Jobseekers lineup do have of stealing away this dragon. They have the control ward in place, looking to melt this one down. Zonox, unfortunately, not in a good position here. He's found himself in the middle of 4 heroes. He's probably going to get taken down, but they do get the dragon in the meantime, so his death not quite in vain.
It was an interesting distraction tactic, emphasis on the int there, but hell, it ends up working. They do pick up the dragon, and that is going to be the soul they don't have to worry about now. But yeah, their priority really has to be winning this game. I know, like, stalling out these games and denying Dragon Soul is very useful for that time metric we were talking about before, but the metric isn't relevant if you go 0-2. You're going to be getting kicked out of that playoff spot no matter what. So the ultimate goal for
if they lose this game, we don't even like play another game, right? Like our third game tonight's just useless because it's already, you know, set in stone, the 0-2.
The 0-2 is set in stone, but unfortunately the third place seed does matter a lot because it does.
That's true. That's true.
Seeding obviously into playoffs is going to mean a lot. So I think we still play that one out and see who's able to pick up the third seed to face off against Destiny and who will have to be put through the gauntlet versus Jupies into those semi-finals. But I'm sure all these teams are aiming for the #1 spot anyway, and they're going to be gunning for it. Whether it's Destiny, whether it's Jupies, they're going to try and make that miracle run through the playoffs happen. But obviously, looking a lot easier for a lot of the teams not to go versus undefeated first seed right now. But yeah, right now, Kronos Spaceship looks so good.
Nublist just really doing his most, but I mean, Mordekai's a very scary champion to deal with when you are a tank. You know, he does have the Rift Maker, he's going to be healing a ton, he's got the big shields available, and not only that, but, you know, tons of damage that you can just really just put down consistently against these tankier targets when you do have that Mordekai's passive ticking. But Cho'Gath, you know, going to be a very scary threat, does have that infinite scaling on the damage and the health, thanks to Feast. So hopefully we see him really do some damage with that, but I mean, again, my eyes are just on Sergeant Crone this game, and Shortmaster hasn't really had the chance to make himself known in this series, but on fleek, looking to go aggressive onto Shortmaster as well. Dragon Rage does get procced. He's going to have his Q coming up in a couple of seconds here. He's going to have to land it, and yes, indeed, that's going to be the kill going over to On Fleek. Well played.
Yeah, pretty easy pick up there. The poor Misfortune caught out of position. The lead sin is just no hope for her with all the mobility and the damage in his kit. But yeah, right now it looks like Kronos Spaceship, but like, even though the lead isn't that
that's going to be a sleep on the Hunt. They're looking to go aggressive here. On Fleek does have the Sonic Wave, but it's not going to be enough in time. Flash forward, the Feast connects on the Quopro. That's 2. Nublist hungry, looking for 3 under this tower. On Fleek, very scared, has to run away. But that's going to be a huge pickup for Jobseekers Alliance. They find themselves 2 big playoff picks in this mid lane, and that is going to be exactly what they need to put themselves back in a driving position of this game.
Yeah, some gold return for them, but unfortunately that Ziggs ult came through and wiped out the waves. They couldn't even pick up the tower, and there is obviously trades going on the other side of the map. Pandemonium still wailing away on that tower, so still you'll take what you can get as Jobseekers at this point. But I was just talking about how the lead isn't that significant, even less so now, but just we were talking about the compositions that the Renekton's time is starting to end here. The the Cho'Gath is just going to become a CC bot. Really just has to land up those knockups or get in position to feast one of those super squishies. But yeah, the time is ticking on this Renekton mid mostly because that Tristana is the complete opposite. She's going to get ridiculously powerful as this game goes on.
This is going to be a big fight though. QuoPro maybe looking to get a little bit dangerously low here. Massive ultimate from Shortmaster is going to melt down the support. But we're just looking at this top lane fight in the meantime. Nice little solo kill from Pandemonium. Does look like in the meantime, Shortmaster found himself a nice kill on the Lee Sin. That's going to be big damage though from Ziggs. They trade 1-for-1, the post-mortem kill. And meanwhile, Hunter's just grabbing himself that mid-tier 2. And it looks like Pandemonium finding himself a tower of his own. Well played across the board, but it does look like, unfortunately, Jobseeker is going to come out a little bit behind in terms of objectives resulting from that fight.
Yeah, and we see that even to just the scaling of the Tristana doesn't even translate just to the damage this champion's able to do. It's just the siege she's able to put right now. She's tearing down that mid lane. She's tearing down
Sergeant Crone goes forward. Double ultimate is going to connect. Looking to get the damage here onto Hunt, but maybe bitten off a little more than he can chew here. Has to watch out. Chris Strider only a few moments away. Pandemonium is going to miss the Q. That could be disastrous. The slow is going to connect, and there it is. They turn it around. Lilia dancing in and out, makes the risky plays and makes them look good. Nublis now looking to go a little bit aggressive here, chasing down Hunt. Unfortunately, lacking the move speed to follow up just yet, but super good pickup there from Jobseeker's Alliance. He actually got the rocket jump out of that. He's going to be able to stick it onto this Tristana. Feast is going to be enough to execute a well-placed rupture from Nublist. And that is going to be another kill going their way. They still somehow are finding these picks, even when it looks like the game is just a done deal. They claw themselves back. They are not wanting to find themselves out of this competition.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying, if they get to these 5v5s and they're even though this Renekton doesn't scale as well, they still have the opportunity to win with all these teamfight ultimates like that Lilia, like that MF. They find these clutch teamfight scenarios, they can still take this game. So Chrono Spaceship getting caught sleeping here, making some crucial errors into this mid game, and they're losing out on their Dragon Soul win condition, and these Mountain Souls are going to start stacking up for the side of Jobseekers here. The Renekton just going to become beefier, the Cho'Gath beefier, and even the squishy targets like that Lily are going to benefit a lot from these extra resistances, stopping them getting one-shot by any Ziggs bombs or stuff.
Certainly is. They have to watch out here. Pandemonium, they are going to look for Shortmaster. The depth charge is going to connect into the Ziggs ultimate. So much damage. Probably going to get taken out by Thevens. Yes, indeed. Two-man sleep coming through from Sergeant Crone. Not any follow-up, though, available. They're just going to lose their AD carry, unfortunately. And it does look like we're going to see Corona Spaceship set up for a bit of a Baron attempt here.
Yeah, they are looking for more than just that AD carry pick, obviously. No bullet time available makes this so much easier to take. They've really got to commit, and with that Lilia ult being down too, it's really difficult for them to find anything. If they had the Lilia ult just then, even Hunt maybe would have gotten picked off, but unfortunately not having it for the duration of this Baron, it's going to be very hard for them to do anything. Nublis is off on the side though, he has the feast available. Nublis might be able to steal it himself.
Yeah, Sergeant Crone, he does get Death Run, but a great flash over the wall is going to keep him alive. Chris Strider staying alive for quite a lot of time because that's the Sterax, but not long enough, I'm afraid. And it does look like Sergeant Crone is going to be the only one left alive with Shortmaster respawning up. They find themselves in a 2v5 situation to defend this oncoming Baron push.
Yeah, they made a few errors, but they deliver when it matters most at that Baron. It looked really iffy for a second. Nublis was in the pit with his feast, and it was around 1,000. I'm not sure if there was an early smite, but it ends up going to Hunt. All champions picking up that Baron with one of his auto attacks. And yeah, they end up just edging out that Baron fight there. But to see what they can do with the Baron, with the Ziggs and the Tristana, you can only imagine this base is about to melt.
Yes, so much objective damage on this comp right now. The Tristana to get the tower low and the Ziggs to execute it. What a combo of champs that you don't want to see on the enemy team. But that is going to be only the tower taken away from Corona's Spaceship. You would hope that they would get some sort of a inhibitor off of this Baron, and with, 2 inhibitor towers down, that does look like it might be likely, but instead looking to back off here, maybe set up some vision control around the Dragon, which I would imagine is spawning in a few short minutes, so they probably want to set up some wards, make sure that they do have control of that area for when it does spawn up. Reset, grab their items, and look for another push.
Yeah, now job seekers, they've really got to play around these dragons more than anything. I think if you have a couple miracle dragon fights, this game is winnable with the dragon soul, but yeah, right now it's just looking so hard. This Ziggs is going to complete damage over time build, so he's just playing out the war of attrition. If he lands one spell on you, it's going to chunk about 20% of your health. Doesn't matter if you're that Renekton or that Cho'Gath or that damage over time he's built there. And just if you ever commit to the all-in fights, you've got so many tools with that Tristana bringing the bulk of the damage onto your front line. It's going to be very hard to spy that Tristana once he secures that Infinity Edge. Yeah, right now they just really got to pray. I think Sergeant Crone is the main playmaker for them. If he's able to find a huge sleep, then I can imagine they have an opportunity there following
Oh
up.
my goodness, look at the damage from behind. 3 short auto attacks, proccing the Kraken Slayer, and goodbye to Zonox from full health to nothing. And again, you know, we do have another Morgana going for the Liandry's Toornament build, and I feel like this sort of a game, especially when you're, you know, maybe not doing too hot on the Morgana, it's just not good. You know, things like the Moonstone are much cheaper and arguably more effective when you are playing from behind. You know, that extra bit of healing, super good. Even things like the Shirelias, the move speed that you can give every time you put Black Shield on someone, definitely can be quite good. And obviously giving your team a big speed up is massive when you are playing these kind of Lilia Renekton comps. So not a fan of the itemization from Zonox, especially since he did actually sell his Moby boots to buy Swifties as well. Which is certainly interesting, but two-man sleep is going to come through here from Lilia. Death Realm procced by Pandemonium, looking to finish off this very fast Lilia, who is just making absolute chaos in the backline. Chris Strider, though, doing his job as a frontline threat, does have the exhaust dropped on him here, but Thevens sitting in the backline, throwing out these bombs. The damage immense. Same from Tristana. Hunt does have that reset available. Looks like Zonox is going to be next on the chopping block. Exhaust comes through, but it's not enough to keep him alive. And that is going to be another pickup here. Shortmaster running away to live another tale. And it looks like Nublus and Sergeant Crone, although they are still up and still in the thick of things, it'd be up to them to defend this oncoming push. 3 inhibitors down. Corona Spaceship knocking on the door of victory. And this is quite literally Job Seekers Alliance with their tournament backs to them. Nublist is going to be the next one to get caught out. They also find themselves a cheeky pickup on the Sergeant Crone. Shortmaster, I don't know if you can do this one 1v4. I think this is going to be Corona Spaceship securing themselves a spot in the playoffs. And Job Seekers Alliance, unfortunately, are going to be going home in 5th place out of this tournament.
So tragic for them after such a dominant return to form. They had such a bad spot and they brought it back just to get absolutely demolished into these tiebreaker series. But these teams really came to play tonight. Youngbloods looking so dominant, finishing the game in 23 minutes now. Corona Spaceship not too far behind. 29-minute victory for them there, but they just came to play. They got their rosters together, and these teams look stronger than ever into these playoff matches. They really look like they studied well for this upcoming series. Job Seekers right now, I know they're missing one of their crucial players in the way of that Stair Boy, so maybe that affected them here coming into this playoffs. But unfortunately, yeah, this is playing for keeps here. These games are going to be what we are going off, and Corona Spaceship move ahead over the corpse of Job Seekers, and now they're going to be fighting for that 3rd place seed.
Certainly, well. I mean, if we want to do our 4 funsies MVPs, I think obviously on fleek, played out of his mind. Really dominant performance on the Lee Sin, highest skill participation by a massive amount. Was finding the solo kills, was finding the ganks, and then I think for SVP, I think Sergeant Crone as well.
Sergeant Crone made some huge plays. Chris Strider actually had a very positive game too.
Chris Strider as well.
Game, finding that solo kill into the mid lane, despite the matchup not being super favorable for him. And yeah, like I think honestly, if he was onto a scaling champion, we might have seen Chris Strider do a bit more into this game. But we saw just like Renekton can't do much other than just soak the damage past that point. He's not going to be one-shotting anyone onto that champion. So there is a case of Chris Strider there too, but I think most of the comeback plays were off some crucial Lilia sleeps. He set up some brilliant plays, had some great highlights that game. And yeah, Sergeant Crone again on his Lilia, showing that he's not just a Rek'Sai one-trick, but yeah, I think that is us, the junglers, both respectively playing it the best on their teams, I feel like, and both picking up the MVPs.
Certainly well played. Well, I mean, unfortunately, Jobseekers Alliance definitely was a team that played well this series, this tournament, but as you said, they were a team that was right down the bottom of the leaderboard for, a lot of the early parts, but they were able to, fix up some of the holes in their game plan, improve as players, and found themselves taking it all the way to a, tiebreaker, competing for top 4 against, the other 2 potential best teams in the tournament. So definitely very, very well played by them. Congratulations to how much they've improved and how far they came. But this, unfortunately, is where their story ends. But who is going to be taking it into 3rd seed and who's going to be taking it into 4th seed? Because obviously, Bloodex, I'm sure this is a game that you're going to be interested to watch, because whoever ends up losing this game is going to have the daunting task of playing against Jupy's Angels in the first game of semifinals in the playoffs. And whoever is going to win this game is going to be going up against Team Destiny. So the matchups are going to be decided from what's coming up next. It's definitely going to be just as exciting. So make sure you stick around as we see the current, riding on a high of a win, Corona Spaceship go up against Youngbloods in this competition. Ready, and welcome back to NTEL. We've got our third tiebreaker game of the night. This one is going to decide our third and fourth place officially. Unfortunately, Job Seekers Alliance found themselves out of the competition there. You can see between our three-way tie. Job Seekers is going to be, unfortunately, the one that finishes in fifth place. And we've got Corona Spaceship and Youngbloods battling it out here for third and fourth. Now, if anyone doesn't understand the significance of that, I will briefly explain. Fourth place is going to have to verse the undefeated Jupies Angels at the top there, and whoever is in third place is going to have to go up against Destiny, who do have 4 losses to their name, although admittedly most of those while Prodigium was not in play, so potentially not quite legitimate losses, but nevertheless should be a little bit less of a scary matchup, statistic-wise, at the very least. But I'm Cadius, joined here on the casting desk by Bledexa once again. And how are you excited about this game?
Yeah, I'm super excited to see how things are going to turn out. Both teams look so good versus Job Seekers, so I guess that Job Seekers are just definitely the 5th place team on the day, but it's still to be decided who's third because they're both pretty convincing victories for each side. Youngbloods, though, definitely finishing their game off stronger, looked better in that isolated match, but we'll see how they match up versus each other because I think Youngbloods prepared really well for Job Seekers there, but did they prepare for Corona Spaceship? Well, we're about to find out.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. That's going to be Dark Knight Zoe banned away, so he's not going to have that this time, unfortunately, unlike the last game. And as well as that, it looks like Nick Chu's Sejuani is going to get banned away.
Yeah, Nick Chu still has that Zac Rebel. We'll see whether they're just going to ban what worked for them in the previous match. But no, taking away that brand, and I agree with that. When Fast Runner looks so strong on it, and Dark Knight is known for playing it mid, you don't want any shenanigans like that brand being picked early. They could just mess you about in the draft here. We'll see what they are going to go with, and it is going to be Django's tried and true Urgot. But does that sell that Django is going into the top lane so early on into the draft?
Yeah, I think Urgot's definitely a bit of an int first pick, considering how bad he does against most ranged top laners. You can really just, stick something like the Gnar up there, and this Urgot is just never touching him, basically. You can even stick like a Vayne top. Vayne is an abysmal matchup for Urgot to play against, so I think first pick Urgot blind is very bad, very risky. I think them doing that here is just complete blind faith in Django's ability to pilot the champion. But we'll have to wait and see. Either way, Nick Chu going to be locking in the Samira here, likely for Gator in the AD carry role. Normally has played the Ashe when I've seen him here, but I guess going for the Samira instead this time. And Pandemonium obviously hovering the set, which is a bit of a 3-way flex, so unsure where that one could be seeing play just yet, as well as On Fleek obviously hovering that Ziggs, which we've seen, Thevens and Hunt both potentially being able to pilot.
Yep, Gator fanboys in the chat rejoice as he's on a pretty impressive champion here. Samira being a big playmaker, going to be looking to bring the fight to that Ziggs if he does find himself back into that AD carry role. And yeah, definitely if Morgan is able to find those bindings, then yeah, you could definitely say that Ziggs is going to lose out on that all-in. But again, with the Nautilus to back him up, with that exhaust available, might not be as clear-cut, but already a very similar draft for Corona Spaceship getting their bot lane sorted. Basically the same time, but still keeping some flexibility. Corona Spaceship really didn't seem like a strong drafting team early on, but in this tiebreaker, you can't really guess where they're going to put these champions. The set is very ambiguous, the Ziggs very ambiguous. The Nautilus right now is just basically the only sole champion going into that support role. So they're doing a pretty good job in the draft right now. On the other side, it's pretty clear cut that the bot lane and the top lane are sorted for Youngbloods, but I guess they really just don't mind giving away this information. They've probably done their study as well onto who they're going into, and they're probably expecting the Ziggs, and they've prepped the Samira Morgana in response. Bans coming across the board now. LeBlanc bans away from that, from Dark Knight. He's shown himself on LeBlanc, I believe, in one of the games in the past, and Lucian being banned. I believe Hunt showed himself playing Lucian. I think first one of our games from Jubais, he played it and he lane swapped top lane and he did alright onto that Lucian, but not quite getting the results. But still, the Dark Knight and Hunt probably have their preferences. They want to be playing into any Aurelias, don't want to be playing into any LeBlancs. Rightfully so, so we'll see what they do end up picking here. From last game, I believe we're probably going to see last pick mid lane, and we're going to see the jungle picked away for on fleek here, but we'll see, because the jungle matchup is pretty important. I believe that's the main reason they lost last time, and Wukong being locked in, that might be going
so this does tell that the Ziggs is likely going to be in the bot side, having a Wukong mid/top and a Set, mid/top, more than likely. But, Set could still be going, potentially, in the mid lane, Ziggs in the top lane. No, sorry. Set in the top lane, Ziggs in the mid lane. And then something like, we've seen the Wukong 80 carry on your team, actually, JPA. Challenge for Jade whipping that one out. So you never really know, but this more than likely is going to be the Ziggs in the AP carry role for Fevens, and then, Wukong and Set representing the mid and top lane. But Ahri is going to be the lock-in in response for Dark Knight. And I don't know if Ahri got changed in the current patch, but not a champion that we normally see as being very decent, and that is going to be Nikchu locking in the Zac that worked so well for him previously, which is something I'm quite liking here. And it does look like jungle is going to be the last lock in here for their side as well, or is it? It does look like it's going to be maybe a Wukong jungle, and that is going to be Yasuo locked in for Hunt in the mid lane.
Yeah, he's got plenty of knockups to follow up on, with the whole team having their own sort of knockups for him to follow. No crazy synergy knockups, like no shockwaves, no Diana ults or anything like that, but still having access to so many knockups onto your team. If anyone's ever stepping out, if you're really prioritizing a target like that Samira, Yasuo is getting that knockup, and he's going to be ulting that Samira every team fight, so you got to be very careful versus team composition right here. And it could be Yasuo 80 Gary you might see with Fevens hovering it. They might swap again like last time. That's what I'm expecting, the Yasuo to go into the Ahri. That's why they saved it for last. But yeah, traditionally we haven't seen Ahri do that well in this tournament. I don't think Ahri's actually picked up a win yet. Chris Strider picked it up a lot, not much success, and I believe Malik's played it recently in one of his games. But yeah, the Ahris haven't been doing well. The champion hasn't been looking good for a long time, and as you said, she hasn't actually been changed this patch, so nothing really helping her out here. But nevertheless, Dark Knight feels comfortable running it, but it's going to be into a pretty difficult matchup, into that Yasuo being able to block literally all of her spells with the wind wall. So Dark Knight has his work cut out for him in this counter matchup.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Definitely some exciting champions here. I always do like watching a bit of a Yasuo play. And I think this is a champion that Hunt is maybe a more comfortable on as well. I do think I might have seen his Yasuo pulled out once, but I mean, obviously Fevens showing great prowess on their Ziggs, Quadpro showing, decent performance on the Nautilus, wasn't exactly making many crazy hooks, but, he was not dying, and he was, putting the pressure on the lane, he was landing, the depth charge, which, Nautilus, very simple champion with a lot of impact, so you love to see it there. But Wukong in the jungle is one thing I have not seen for quite some time. Normally, this champion is picked for his early laning power, his early laning dominance, and his ability for very strong level 6 all-ins, but we are seeing him locked in for the jungle role here. How do you feel that's going to go? Because I feel like Wukong is not a champion that really has, like much in the way of early game ganks. He kind of maybe goes into a lane pre-6 and, just kind of hits him a few times, and that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, having no experience, it's hard to put your finger on it. You could easily argue that a Diana slotted into this Wukong is just infinitely better, and that's what we're seeing at the professional level a lot. But we have seen Wukong played in the top lane. Mad Lion's top laner actually loves it quite a bit, and Mad Lion's obviously coming out the top EU team of the season, so maybe he's got a bit of technology there. Maybe people are sleeping on this champion because we haven't seen him that frequently, but definitely not into the jungle role. But he has everything you'd think a good jungler has. He's got like decent attack speed, good auto reset, he can juggle aggro with the clone. It's just really, does he have the clear speed to keep up with that Zac? And obviously his ganks leave a lot to be desired till he hits that level 6, but the main thing about Wukong is that he doesn't really have the most amazing laning phase till he gets to that level 6. You give up a lot of priority in a lot of matchups in the current meta, just Na and Jace especially just punish you in that early game from getting anything done. But if he's able to just farm out onto this Wukong, he's able to get to like a Divine Sundra, get to a gore drinker, get to that level 6 without much punishment, he's going to be pretty strong coming into these team fights. And a lot of these champions like the Samira, like the Ari, are going to just have a hard time dealing with this Wukong.
Yeah, I'm interesting about like Hunt as a player because Hunt is like a solo queue support player. True and true, he is a Thresh Nautilus player himself. That is kind of where he makes his hallmark as a League of Legends player in solo queue. But taking up the mid lane role here, playing very mechanically demanding champion like Yasuo, it's going to be interesting to see how he plays. And I mean, obviously he's been platinum the last few seasons, but he is a season 8 master tier player, Hunt himself. So he definitely does have the potential to, be certainly a star player on this lineup, and I'm going to be interesting to see exactly how he pulls this one off. But regardless, before we hop into game, another quick mention of our sponsors. We've got our beautiful major sponsors here, Territory Zone Paul's Ice Coffee, Northern Territory Government, and McDonald's Group Darwin, as well as all of our lovely minor sponsors here on your screen. All local businesses up here in the top end, tried and true. And if you are competing in the NTEL, even if you are one of the teams that have been knocked out of the League of Legends season, including Job Seekers Alliance now, you can still claim some nice little discounts at these places. So, maybe if, you're making the toss-up whether or not you head over to Macca's or, head over to, Hungry Jack's or wherever, or maybe go over to, one of our great local businesses here and get a bit of a discount, might sway your mind. So keep that one in mind next time. But, regardless, we're going to be hopping into our game in just a moment here, just fixing up the overlays and such. But Bloodaxa, what do you feel about this this mid lane exactly, Ari into Yasuo? Because I feel like Ari definitely gets whooped in this matchup, and I feel like that might be why Hunt called for the Yasuo pick.
Yeah, definitely Yasuo favored. By no means is it easy to punish an Ari just by nature of her kit. Obviously, still, you have a decent time into the lane, having that win wall pre-level 6. Once she hits that level 6, you lose out on a lot of that kill pressure. It is hard. She's got 3 flashes basically on demand with that ultimate, but still, I think you'll have the priority and the pressure on that Ari at all times. It's just really, you got to keep an eye on Nichu is the X factor, because Yasuo has to be up into lane to put out that pressure, to get that priority. He's got to be in your face and pressuring you off those minions. If Ari is just walking up, getting those free orbs of deceptions onto the minion wave, as much as she wants, you can probably neutralize the Yasuo, but Yasuo really does thrive when he's in your face, like stat checking you. And if he's able to just block all your abilities and completely outplay you, it's really hard to deal with as Ari when that Yasuo is in your face. But that's what junglers are for. So we'll see if Nichu is able to find his trademark ganks and see if he can put a stop to this Yasuo, or is On Fleet going to be there to help him get that snowball going in the mid lane, because I do think it's heavy Yasuo favored.
Just have to wait and see, but I mean, certainly Hunt is going to have a wonderful time in this matchup. I mean, with Ari, right, like, you don't really have to win wall, the Qs and the Ws, but it's mostly about that charm. The ability to win wall charm just really shuts down Ari's ability to trade. But it does look like Django getting some great level 1 trades here onto Pandemonium, thanks to landing one of those flips into the minion wave.
Yeah, honestly, sleeper carry this game could be Urgot, because I feel like even if Samira gets ahead, Samira Unreleased is really crazy with the damage, but they've toned her down a lot, and she is going to struggle to take down these champions like Set, like Wukong, especially with that Yasuo having Wind Wall to just block out on some of that damage. She's really got to pick her spots really carefully here. But a champion like Urgot, if he gets ahead, can absolutely just thrive in these like melee skirmish battles where he's just going to be dropping out his passive left, right, and center. But I think he has to get a good laning phase to make that happen. And versus one of the bad top laners, Pandemonium showed he could handle Nooblis, but yeah, can Django rise to the challenge and get a significant lead onto one of his comfort picks? So we're about to find out. Looks like Pandemonium starting to swing back in the lane. Yeah, on Fleek, looks like he's keeping up pretty well, doing basically full clear, just skipping over to that red. Not falling behind too far in terms of clear of that Zac, so Wukong's still able to keep up. It's just, right now he's looking for a gank. It's just, unless Pandemonium sets him up for a success here, it's not much that Wukong can do.
Yeah, they're just going to be really playing around things, but this is probably going to be a very dead Django. No, great flash out and on Fleek. Not having the damage there with that flash auto Q. Unfortunately, to finish off the kill, is just going to have to walk out of there, but here comes Nichu. Looking for the one-on-one.
Oh, he's in a bad spot. Dark Knight has the perfect rotation. To
No
cut off
flash
his escape
available here. The Ignite's going to drop, and that's going to be Dark Knight. No, sorry, it's actually going to be Nick Chu picking up first blood here in this game. On the pink Zac, the best Zac skin. I use that one as well quite a lot, the pink Zac chroma. Just a walking blob of bubblegum.
But yeah, right now, that's the punishment that comes through. They've flashed top lane. That does clearly envision Django is able to trade one flash for two, and it's immediately capitalized by Nick Chu. He sees that Onflix and very greedy for that scuttle, and was probably calling it out well in advance. Dark Knight has the rotation. I think Hunt definitely got some CS over his opponent, but right now Nick Chu's able to translate his lead in the jungle over into mid lane, burning that mid lane flash right now. And yeah, Nick Chu already having quite the positive effect in this game. That's been a key component of Youngblood's success. It's like Onfleek at least was able to get himself towards that bottom scuttle. He's going to pick up a one scuttle for himself, not get double scuttle, but it looks like he still wants to keep making plays as this pre-level 6 Wukong. All he does is bring a little bit of damage here, but look at Nick Chu coming in right now. He brings all the CC, he brings
Great dredge line, they find themselves fast runner. Here comes Nick Chu though, looking to get the counter gag. Q is going to connect onto Onfleek. This is going to be a dead monkey. There's the reset for Gator. He's looking to maybe take it further, but here comes the TP. Pandemonium coming in from the side. Samira going to be first on his agenda. Does land the stun, but can he get the kill? No, sir. Cell Division is going to get popped onto Nick Chu as now does look like the side of Corona Spaceship are looking to back off. They do spot Ari coming down the river on that Scuttle Crab, and that's going to be a nice little bit of an exchange. Corona Spaceship finding themselves at a loss, as Youngbloods did pick themselves up that one kill onto Onfleek, but, you know, 0-2, not a great start for this monkey.
Yeah, and we see exactly what happens. He comes in for the gank, he lands his E, he lands his Q, drops his clone, and it's just like, that's about half Samira's health, if at that. And then Nick Chu comes in and he hits the double knock-up, gets a double Q. He's absolutely just destroying them. You can see why the meta exists, but I think that's just mainly on Flex forcing the issue too much. He should be playing around his power spikes. It's like when Wukong is able to get that sheen, he gets multiple sheens per fight, he gets multiple Qs off, he gets the knockups. He's really hard to deal with once he unlocks that level 6 Cyclone. But right now, he doesn't have much to offer, and he's forcing the issue. Right now, Nick Chu is just playing spectacular, just shadowing him across the map, and he's showing that Zac early game is definitely better than Wukong's. Now even look at this mid lane. Hunt right now has his wave in a bad position, and probably just the fear of Nick Chu being around, even though Ari probably can't really kill the Yasuo here, has to respect that Nick Chu could be hovering around. And yeah, he can't really put out the pressure that he wants to be doing onto this Yasuo pick. Onfleek right now is just trying to scrape together what he can. He's at least kept up in CS, but Nick Chu having the extra kill and assist is going to give him a significant lead into this jungle. And right now we can already see that even though it's only 2 kills, that the gold lead's already 1,500.
Yeah, certainly very good here. But Gator 1-0 on this Samira, certainly my player to watch, because this is a champion that can definitely pop off to quite some degree if he is left to his own devices. Once he gets into that shield online, the shield bow. Also grabs himself, you know, the Bloodthirster, also grabs himself, you know, the Collector. You know, the ability for this champion to pop off in team fights is absurd. So, always exciting, especially when piloted by an ADC player that's competent like Gator is. I do want to see Hunt maybe going a little bit more aggressive on this mid lane, though. I feel like he can give Dark Knight quite a bit of his mind, but he's just giving full respect to Nick Chu and not doing so.
And yeah, respect well put, as he was there in the lane, even though Dark Knight's playing so far up right now. Nick Chu's hovering him. Onfleek was there too, but he's just level 5 still. He's not going to offer as much as that Zac can. And yeah, I think once Onfleek does start to get that level 6, he might start to turn things around. Obviously, that combination between Wukong and Yasuo is going to be deadly for that Ari to be dealing with. And it looks like they're going all in on Hunt, but can he get out? If he avoids the charm, I think he's fine here.
Yeah, it certainly does.
He goes in for the flash though, and he ends up getting dropped here. Onfleek's trying to find the kill onto that.
You are quite a bit ahead of me.
Oh, sorry.
Spoilers!
Looks like, yeah. Looks like they're making a play on Dark Knight.
Yeah, they're trying to go in onto Dark Knight here. Onfleek dashing the wall. Dredge line doesn't connect, and he's just going to get out of here. Meanwhile, on top side, though, Django in a bit of a scuffle. Pandemonium drops the ulti into the Haymaker, but it's not going to be enough to finish off Django. I'm afraid he's a very tanky Urgot. Did rush the steel caps here.
Yeah, and complete fear just drops that flash away, just fearing that Urgot ult might come through. But I think now he's in an even worse spot. Without the flash, the Urgot can maybe drop his, try and find this kill. On Fleek finding that knock up here, but Yasuo wasn't in range yet, so not able to find that combo. I think I might be a bit ahead of you. Maybe we should sync up right now.
Yeah.
Before anything else happens.
I'm at 852, 853, 854.
Yeah. I'll pause mine. Just keep counting and I'll
858,
pause.
859, 9,
Yeah,
901.
we are in sync now. We're in
Okay,
sync.
very cool.
But yeah, it's just they're trying to make the plays here. Finally got Wukong level 6, but just a slight execution error. Hunt wasn't in ultimate range. I know it seems like when you play Yasuo that thing, or you play against Yasuo, he seems to ult from wherever the hell he feels like it, but it's not quite as lenient as it looks there, as he wasn't able to find that ult onto the Ahri there in the mid lane. Yeah, we will see when they're able to do that again, when the Cyclone comes back. I think they should still continue to look for those mid lane ganks, trying to find the one shot onto Dark Knight while he doesn't have his flash available. Yeah, right now Dark Knight's sitting pretty nice.
Little dodge by Quopro, yeah. He's got the moves like Jagger.
And yeah, I think one thing Quopro should be doing now, the Ziggs can be pretty self-sufficient into this lane. It's very hard for that Morgana and the Samira to dive, because he just wave clears before he gets anywhere near the tower.
Yeah, just pick up the Mobies and just make Dark Knight's like life a living hell, basically, would be definitely be something that I would be thinking about at this stage, because, you know, you're a Nautilus, you just walk in a lane, you just drop the depth charge onto Ahri, she either ults or she gets knocked up, and then if she pops the ulti, then next time you can just walk in and look for, you know, the dredge line and do some serious damage. But looking to go aggressive here onto Quopro. Chains of Corruption.
Yeah.
Bit of a fail flash there, unfortunately.
Tragic flash, but yeah, we see that Fevens, you got the Fiendish Codex, no Lost Chapter available, so he's run out of gas there. They're able to easily just force that all in without much return damage. Now it's going to convert to a lot more of a lead, being able to pick up those.
Hunt unfortunately goes in at the worst time while Nick Chu was waiting while he was under tower. That's so sad. But unfortunately, he's just going to get blown up there and taken out. And it does look like Yasuo here looking to grab a early Wit's End by the looks of his itemization. Either that or go for some Merc Treads before finishing off his Shield Bow. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we just see that even though Hunt's not even playing aggressive, he's just trading back under his tower. Nick Chu is there. And he is constantly finding these
here comes the
punishes
TP though, looking to get aggressive onto Dark Knight. He's going to be the first one to go down. Here goes Gator though. He does have Inferno Trigger available, and in comes Django, looking to get the execution into the fear off of Quopro. And now he is just trying to peel for Gator the best he can. Uses the dash to try and get a little bit of distance, but Pandemonium going to finish him off. Django, next one to follow. Nick Chu now, a lot of enemy heroes on his tail. He has to watch out. One more auto attack should do the trick. Cell Division available, but with no help to come, he's going to get finished off. Fevens living to tell the tale, and that's going to be Dragon actually going to be going over to the side of Corona Spaceship.
Yes, they needed this so bad. The game was slipping from their grasp, and right when you think they might be out for the count, they come back at this Dragon, find a crucial pick onto Dark Knight, and win the ensuing team fight using those big ultimates we were talking about, like that Wukong. We can see what he's able to do in the team fight scenario. The ganks early game weren't very impressive, but if he finds these team fight scenarios, he can do some serious damage.
Half of Hunt's health from a charm there. Has to really win all those, or else that's exactly what happens.
But yeah, we saw a little bit of Samira's issue there. She's early game right now, so it's not going to be that bad, but we saw Samira land a pretty big ultimate and just wasn't able to even kill that Quopro there, tanking basically the full Inferno Trigger to the face. That Samira's damage is pretty lacking when it comes into these bruiserish champions, so they really got to play the long con here. She's able to find...
Certainly. Normally the way that she, you know, deals with those bruiserous champions, you know, her build does have, you know, things like the Shield Bow, things like the Bloodthirster, and so when you pop Inferno Trigger and you have all this lifesteal from all these champions, it's usually hard for these bruiserous champions to kill you, because you just heal so much, but you know, at this stage of the game, she doesn't have any of those items, so she's just kind of going to be doing her damage and dying for the most part, which is not ideal. So, gonna have to wait to see Samira scale up a little bit, and unfortunately, Hunt missing another wind wall there. The second part of the Q not connecting, but there it is. The Spirit Dash to finish her off, and again, you know, we're talking about on fleek's ganks here, and with no Cyclone available.
Oh, that's tragic. They couldn't get behind him.
Unfortunately, couldn't get behind him. Django, though, trying to turn things around, but here comes Nikchu in with the ultimate. They do find themselves onto on-fleek. Soul Shackles in the bot lane, though. Fast Runner looking for Quopro. They should have the damage here, or does he? Gator, Shield Bow procs. Great usage of the Dark Binding there, though, to finish off the kill onto Quopro. Meanwhile, up in the top side, looked like Django actually turned that around. Got himself 2 kills. I didn't even see what happened. But he does find himself at 3-1-0 on this Urgot now, with Nikchu coming in for a crazy counter gank. And that does look like they are going to get Herald up on the top side, and first tower going over the way of this Youngbloods lineup.
Yeah, Nikchu did come through into the top lane to find that counter gank and get the crucial kill back onto On-Fleek and Pandemonium that sets up Django so well in this game now. And I was talking that Gator on his own might not be enough for this game, but now that Dark Knight and Django are ahead, it's going to be so much damage coming out. There's multiple threats. He doesn't need to be dealing all the damage on that Samira with the Inferno trigger, so it's definitely looking good for the side of Youngbloods here. Especially when you have a champion like Urgot that's going to be going into so many melees. He's basically got unavoidable damage. He just turns on the W, and he's going to be proccing passive on basically all the Wukongs, the Yasuo's, the sets that are engaging on you. You're going to be taking damage from that Urgot, and that's going to set up beautifully for Samira to come through with the Inferno trigger, probably to finish off some of these team fights. But yeah, they have to be careful that they're not getting caught out themselves, because there's still a lot of pick potential on the side of Chrono Spaceship. We'll see what else they have left in the tank, but right now they are basically 5,000 gold down. It's pretty dire scenario, but if anything, they have a pretty okay Ziggs for themselves right now. He's doing alright, a little bit behind in CS, but looking pretty good on the scoreline. He has his mythic completed, and he's going to be putting out a decent amount of damage if he's able to find the skill shots in the team fight.
Dark Knight has to watch out. Dredgeline does connect into the last breath. They do get the root as well. Ultimate comes out from Dark Knight finally, but Depth Charge going to be chasing after her. Nikchu doing his best to try and peel this Ahri to the best of his ability. Django popping the ultimate a little bit wide, unfortunately. In comes Nikchu for his second knock-up of the fight. Hunt, one auto from death, is going to get melted down by the Sunfire Cape in the end. Meanwhile, on fleek in the backline, just getting melted down by Django as he tries to finish off Dark Knight. And here comes Nikchu, making sure the monkey goes down without a fight. And yes, indeed, that is going to be Youngbloods once again turning a bad situation into a good one, as maybe they might be chasing a little bit too far here. They have Thevens wrapping around, same with Pandemonium. Things could go bad. They do decide to just even it out, and looks like things are going to go back to neutral, and they do find themselves coming out in favor.
Yeah, Dark Knight makes it out unscathed there. Well, he was quite scathed, but he doesn't lose his life, which is the important part. The Chrono Spaceship don't find any return gold onto that play there. And it's just looking really hard for them to do anything. The mid-jungle duo right now, so far behind. They're still trying to look for plays, but it looks like it's just getting turned on its head. Pandemonium going to be CC'd so long by Fast Runner on this Morgana. Django trying to finish him off. Finally gets the pass.
Oh, Thevens does grab the auto attack. One more should do the trick. He does try to find the knock-up, and yes, indeed, Hunt coming in to save the day. Definitely well played there from Thevens, knowing his limits, knew he had Hunt coming in to help him out there, but I gotta say Yasuo here has done something that's really delaying his power spike, and that is picking up the Mercury Treads, because as many of you will know, if you're a Yasuo player especially, Berserker Greaves is a super important item. You rush it on Yasuo, because without it, your Q just takes way too long to get a tornado going, and not only that, but you know, not having move speed on the champion makes his E very slow, and unfortunately Quipro is getting caught out here a little bit, but Hunt actually going in, 1v3, has the TP coming in, same with on fleek. Big ultimate is proc, but here comes the Inferno trigger. They do find themselves onto Hunt. Here comes Django with the TP of his own. Big Haymaker does a bit of damage, but will it be enough? No, second Inferno trigger of the team fight is going to pop. That's going to finish off one. Thevens joins the fight a little bit late, does find himself a kill onto Dark Knight, but now he has to watch out as Django landing the ultimate, tries to pop the stopwatch to buy himself a little bit of time, but unfortunately only going to be delaying the inevitable, as Gator finds himself a cheeky little assist thanks to that stopwatch, and also a blue buff of his own.
That team fight could have been completely different if the Wukong ult was available, but it wasn't, and they go in for that fight. Hunt even windwalled before he dropped the ult. I don't know what that was about, but Yeah, it's just some little details snowballing it so heavily into Youngblood's favor. And right now it looks basically unwinnable for the side of Korean Spaceship. 8k gold down right now. The Samira is massive. This Urgot is absolutely massive. People sleep on Django a lot, but he is very good at this Urgot pick here. Like, we saw what Pandemonium was able to do to Nublus, and now Django finding this Urgot pick, just absolutely wrecking Korean Spaceship on a signature pick. So maybe people have to look his way in the future, because yeah, he's shown what he can do on this Urgot. And yeah, it's not looking good for Korean Spaceship if they're not able to capitalize. If anything, they have any caveat, the Ziggs still doing okay, but I don't think Ziggs brings enough damage to take out all the enemy members, especially when there's so much healing on the other side. Ziggs has a lot of damage over time, but if he's unable to finish off those kills, that Zamira is just going to heal right back up.
Certainly is, and they do have to be careful here. In comes Nikchu.
Behind enemy lines, doesn't even getting caught.
Oh, great dredge line. Does actually force out the Ari ultimate quite early. Maybe looking to go forward with the Everfrost. In comes Nikchu. They find the knock-up onto Hunt. He's going to get absolutely deleted. Or is he? Staying alive thanks to Shield Bow. But in comes that Inferno trigger we were talking about. Gator doing huge amounts of damage. The set, buying a bit of time. Gator still staying alive. Finishes off all three. Triple kill. Going the way of that Samira. Does end up going down, but he brings the whole Corona Spaceship lineup with him. And that is going to be a Rift Herald knocking on the door of this inhibitor tower. And potentially Youngbloods finishing off this game in sub 20 minutes. We'll have to wait and see.
What's going on? Youngbloods look like just unstoppable here. The entire team is just acting as like a hive mind unit in these team fights, just doing so well. And the Gator fanboys in the chat, I see you all. Probably gonna be pretty happy with that play he just pulled off. Just 1v3 under the enemy towers. They're dropping ultimates on him, but he's still picking up 3 bodies to his name. And yeah, it's looking quite stylish while he does it, and Youngbloods aren't done at all. They're still into the enemy's jungle. What the hell? There's a flash off screen. Django going for a play, but he's hitting the wrong monkey. Then now it might actually go the opposite way. They might have made a big error here. Fast Runner is
for Fast Runner. This is going to be a very dead Morgana, unfortunately. It's going to go the way of Quo-Pro. Dark Knight living a little bit, but not quite long enough, as Quo-Pro is going to cut him off there with that dredge line. They might find Django as well. And now this, unfortunately, is something that happens quite often. This is going to be Baron buff, likely, going the way of this Corona Spaceship lineup. You see it happen time and time again. You know, a team will push into the base, they'll push hard, and they'll maybe overstay just a little bit for the enemy team to respawn with, full health, maybe some extra items, and then all of a sudden they'll just push them as they try and run out from the base. They'll get the kills, and then they'll get the Baron buff, and, they'll completely flip the game back into the way of even. So it's definitely going to be hard to see. Nikchu needs this steal if anything is going to happen. Same with Gator. They go in, they find 2, looking to find 3. Infernal Trigger is going to do it. Quo-Pro, the last one to fall. And yes, indeed, they find it. And that is going to be Nikchu and Gator with a 2v4 to secure themselves Baron buff. And this is looking from bad to impossible for the side of Youngbloods.
Yeah, last-ditch effort play there, just absolutely thwarted by Gator. Just again finding such a huge play. Unfortunately, on Fleek was dropped so low, tanking that Baron for his team. They should have shared the aggro, because Gator just comes in, gets the free kill, gets the style points, gets the reset, and he goes off. And it's just not anything they can do. They had all the ultimates available, but yeah, just giving up that kill so early means you're not able to lock down that Samira, and the Zac finding the perfect engage too. Everything going wrong, or everything going right if you're a Youngbloods fan here, and they are looking to just take this game super convincingly. I think it's only a matter of time before these towers fall over.
Yeah, here comes Nikchu though, looking to get a nice little double knock-up here as Django sitting very heavily under the tower. Big Wukong ultimate. No knockups to speak of for Yasuo to follow up off of. Unfortunately, that is just going to be a very dead monkey. Now 4 versus 5 as this Baron buff still doing its thing. Looks like a couple of them are going to rotate over towards the mid lane. Dredge line does connect onto Django. Able to get the dash out, unfortunately. So Feven's not going to get the damage she should have off of that ultimate. The Corona Spaceship doing their most to just hold on here. Great usage of the wind wall there to put a little bit of distance between himself and the Gator Dark Knight duo. Flash forward with the Fox dashes. Hunt finding himself the knockup. That's going to be a kill onto Dark Knight. In comes Gator, though. Inferno Trigger looking to finish off Yasuo, and yes, indeed, going to take quite a bit of damage from this tower, but those pickups could be exactly what they need to finish off this game. Here comes On Fleek looking for the return kill onto Gator, but Nikchu going to be thwarting it. Here comes the Ziggs and the Nautilus, though. Django still knocking on the way of topside, looking to finish off this second Nexus tower. And now Gator has to watch out. Death Charge, he's still going. Corpro wanting these kills. In comes On Fleek, flashes forward. They find Gator finally, but it's going to be at the cost of the monkey's life. They are also going to find a second kill onto the Zac as well. Now Fast Runner and Django, the only two left alive in a 2v3 situation. Unfortunately, no Nexus Tower to speak of. Yasuo respawning, so that's probably where this push is going to stop. But oh my goodness, I don't even know who came out of that alive or ahead or what. What a series of events.
Yeah, I think Youngblood just with Django playing siege duty, taking out those inhibitors, going to come out ahead eventually. That last tower is going to be so hard to defend when it's so low, and yeah, even though they have stuff like the wave there, I think the dive is an inevitable thing with the Zac and the Ari just going in with the Samira. They've got so many dive tools. That last tower is going to be very hard to hold. So, yeah, but they've done a valiant job. They've survived the Baron buff. I thought it was going to be over, honestly, with the lead they had, but they're starting to fight back. If only the lead wasn't so heavily into Youngblood's favor, it would have been looking a lot better. Some crucial early game mistakes have just made it too easy for Youngblood to build their advantage.
Certainly is. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, both these teams will be making it into playoffs, but, you know, whether or not they make it to, you know, finals, whether or not they make it to semifinals, definitely will be here on the line. We'll have to wait and see, but certainly by way of, you know, Ziggs existing, makes it a little hard for them to push in this bot lane especially. Ziggs' wave clear and his ability to defend a push is maybe some of the best in the game. Very few champions harder to push into against than Ziggs. You know, he sticks down the E, just completely one-shots the wave, is able to sit there under his tower, safely chuck out bombs to poke anyone that's getting a little bit too close. But they're actually going to find themselves a nice little dunk binding onto On Fleek here. Hunt going forward, looking for Django, does miss the dash. Here comes Pandemonium, though, off to the side. Quopro doing his best to lock down the Ari in the backline, but Feven's going to get caught out by an unlucky orb, is going to get taken out. Meanwhile, Pandemonium doing his best to delay Gator from getting in onto his team, but unfortunately, they don't even need to at this stage. They're just too far ahead. It's going to be most of the Corona Spaceship lineup getting melted down. Pandemonium, the only one left alive, 1v5. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to pull this one off, and that is going to be Youngbloods securing themselves the position of 3rd seed coming out of the group stage. They will be going up against Destiny in the playoffs, and it's going to be none other than Corona Spaceship that Bloodxa are going to be your first opponents in the knockout stage.
Yeah, well, they looked alright. They had a great draft, but they weren't able to execute coming into it. But Youngbloods, what a performance from them right now. Looking spectacular. Gator having some highlight reel plays, but just the whole squad looking so consistent across the board there. You can't really point any fingers as to who went wrong. There's just success across the board. Nikchu's looking stronger than ever today. Django having a great performance there in that second game after quite a sleeper early first game. He comes out swinging in the second one and shows he's not to be sleeped on either. So looking across this entire Youngbloods roster, looking pretty scary right now. And Corona Spaceship, they had a pretty good idea, but they just weren't able to execute. I think if you give them some extra time, then this team is going to look scary coming into playoffs as well. But not too much time left, as semifinals is just upon us. They're going to be played out next week. Grand finals are going to be played out much later. But the semifinals are on the horizon here for these teams, so they have to be looking out now. So Youngbloods is going to be versing Destiny, Seed 2 versus Seed 3. I believe we haven't sorted out which day it will be next week. It'll be Thursday is semifinal 1 and Saturday is semifinal 2. I think Thursday will be 1 versus 4 and Saturday will be 2 versus 3. And yeah, now we know all our teams will probably have some extra content we might release leading up to the semifinals, so you guys have to keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, that is your tiebreakers sorted out. What did you think of the games today?
Yeah, no, definitely they were pretty close. This, you know, last game was definitely close. The other two less close. You know, Job Seekers Alliance definitely, you know, proving themselves that today on the day, you know, could have been because of their roster changes. But, today on the day, they certainly were the fifth team of the tournament, and the other two teams definitely came to play, and this final game was, so back and forth, just when you thought, like, for sure Youngbloods would finish it off, Corona Spaceship would find a footing, and then Youngbloods would, get another footing, and then Corona Spaceship would find another footing, and, it was so back and forth, but, in the end, it just felt like Youngbloods were just playing that extra little bit better, specifically off the back of Gator here, going up huge on this Samira pick. But I got to say Nikchu as well, honorable mention. I really feel like this game was just Nikchu and Gator. Quite literally, I mean, in that Baron play, it looked like if they got that Baron, the game would have gone completely differently. But, Nikchu and Gator going in, they find themselves a 2 versus 4 teamfight victory. And after that, it was just so hard for this, Corona Spaceship lineup to do anything. So I honestly couldn't pick MVP between Gator or Nikchu. Nikchu, obviously, more KP, 26 KP out of 34 kills, absolutely ridiculous, was making plays left, right, and center. He had a massive counter gank in the bot lane that, turned around what was a pretty bad situation for Gator and Fast Runner into a kill onto On Fleek. Got themselves a kill onto On Fleek as well up in the top side that gave Dark Knight a cheeky early assist as well. So I think Nikchu played absolutely phenomenally, but obviously Gator making some great plays of his own. That 1v3 under the tower coming to mind that did secure his team, that mid-tier 2 and the mid-tier 3. So I think both of those players played absolutely phenomenally. In terms of SVP, I think Fevens is maybe the only option there. I think Fevens definitely played very well.
I think it's pretty clear-cut there, like you were saying. Gator having basically the highlight reel. Both Nikchu and Gator playing super well, but one of them, unfortunately, is playing the AD carry with the highlight reel, so I think it's hard to go wrong and give it to Gator. But Fevens also had quite the sleeper game here. He was consistently performing, doing his job as the Ziggs there. It's just the rest of the team wasn't quite up to par, so definitely would have looked different if the early game had gone different. But yeah, Fevens is basically the only one who came out unscathed. He did his job as best he could, but alas, not enough to take the victory. But yeah, happy to be giving out MVP to Gator and SVP to Fevens, but that is all we have for you guys today. The tiebreakers have been sorted. The seedings have been sorted. We had a big discussion about what would happen if there was another tiebreaker with the 1-1-1s, but thankfully we don't arrive to that conclusion and everything is sorted out. We can move ahead to the semi-finals without a second thought. Yeah, I guess now we just have to look forward to those semi-final playoffs, guys. They are coming up next week. But yeah, we'll keep you guys posted on what's going to happen. Right now, we don't have all the answers locked in just yet, but we'll have them locked in over the next couple of days. So keep your eyes peeled. But yeah, other than that, guys, I think that is us done for the stream. If Katie just wants to close us out here.
Yeah, certainly, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just remember, folks, to make sure you're following here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to catch all of the streams. As well as that, go and check out the Facebook page, Next Tier Gaming and Esports. Drop a like, drop a follow. Make sure you're never missing a stream, never missing an update, never missing a great top-end LAN event as well. We do have a few LAN events that happen specifically for fighting games a lot of the time. And, regardless of what happens with that, all of the stuff will be posted over there. If you are competing in the NTEL, make sure to check out the Next Tier Gaming and Esports website to claim all your discounts, even if you are, one of the teams in the tournament that has fallen out of favor, even if you are a fighting game competitor, a Rocket League competitor, doesn't matter. If you're in the NTEL, you will be having discounts at all of our minor sponsors. And speaking of our sponsors, thank you so much to Paul's Ice Coffee, Northern Territory Government, McDonald's Group Darwin, and all of our lovely minor sponsors here on screen. Big shout out to absolutely all of you folks. Wouldn't be able to be here without you, as all of these teams are definitely battling it out for the prize pool that these lovely folks have presented for us. But until next time, definitely so much thank you for everyone tuning in. It feels like it's been such a massive slog to get through this huge group stage. But that isn't as much of a good thing as a bad thing. It's a great thing to see that we have so many teams that were willing to put in the games to get through the group stage. And obviously a big congratulations to Jupi's Angels, Destiny, Corona Spaceship, and Youngbloods for being our top 4 out of 9 teams to make it through. Definitely a lot of games played. And yeah, I'm super excited to see who's going to be coming out in the semis. And, this is maybe the most competitive top 4 that I've seen us have in NTEL history. Normally you go in there and there's, one or two teams that you're like, okay, these two teams are going to be in grands, and then the rest is just going to probably be like a wash. But this semis, obviously Jupy's Angels is the favorite, but I don't think the other three teams are that far behind, and I think there's the potential for a lot of crazy things to happen. So I'm very, very excited. But thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you next week for the semi-finals. Make sure you're tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you then. This has been Cadius, joined here on the desk by Bodexa. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah.